to it there. We played a 7 to 9 o'clock slot. Normally there we do like 9:30 to 12:30. And Drew, this brings up a good point. I've been wanting to talk about this since it has now directly affected the band because we've mentioned it before. But here in Charleston, we're dealing with a very sad situation, in my opinion, is that the migration of the downtown to earlier times. Mm-hmm. South End as well. They had a band last night after us starting at 10, but it was a two-piece band. So, and I think they only went to 12. The first time I played South End was 10:30 to 1:30. So we played that a year ago? I think it was a year ago. So from a year ago, we've gone from having bands, a full band, till 1:30, to now they only do it till 12. And this is just the first night of it. I think they're going to 7 to 9, 7 to 10 o'clock kind of situation. Downtown definitely migrating into the shutting down phase early.
Yeah, and it's this push that we're seeing out of the mayor's office with this entertainment district overlay, the new moratorium that they're putting on bars and restaurants, not going to allow any new bars to open for the next year. It's this really push, and they're trying to limit tourism. They say that this is the way to limit tourism, but yet they're approving all these hotels to be built. If you want to limit tourism, stop building hotels. Once all the rooms are booked up, that's going to cap your tourist.
Yeah.
If you really want to go back to 2 million tourists a year instead of 4 million tourists a year like we're getting now, first off, you're going to kill the economy in Charleston. I hope you realize that. The reason why we're insulated in a little economic bubble from the rest of the country is because we have 4 million tourists a year come here.
Mm-hmm. And it's only getting better because of the publicity we're getting from our beaches and so forth.
Restaurants, you name it.
Also, there is a big movement for manufacturing here in the town as well that has a lot to do with the union situation here and low taxes for corporations in South Carolina. So that has a lot to do with the administration. And, I don't know if they're going to take that for granted. But here's the thing. A lot of that's coming from Boeing, and a lot of that, you think about big manufacturers like that hire and lay off and hire and lay off. They go through cycles. So the tourism is not something we just need to shut off, hoping that manufacturing is just going to boost the economy. And I'm just speculating. I don't know that that's what's going on. But either way, the point being, that the tourism office, by the way, funded by the taxes on hotels, the tax you pay on hotel rooms and so forth, is what pays the tourism office here in the city that organizes the tourism and so forth. That's what funds their budget. So anyway, that's just some facts to throw out there. But exactly, this is a big tourist town. Shut going to affect that. And again, we've talked about this before, but I see it now actually happening, affecting what I've done, and it's very sad to see, I think, because again, you have a situation where you're going to have people coming out earlier, drinking more, drinking faster, and then having to leave earlier.
Exactly. You're going to put more people getting intoxicated in a shorter amount of time and then shoving them out on the streets. With the college situation, it's going to lead to more house parties, which those have the underage drinking, the sex assaults, things of that nature.
And think about this. The people that are complaining are the ones in those residential areas that would have the house parties there.
Well, they're the ones that would have the house parties beside them.
Right, that's what I mean.
They bought a house in a college area because it was cheaper property values, and then they complain about the things that go along with buying a house in a college area.
Right, so now you're going to shut down the bars that are 6 blocks away and bring the party to your next door. It's really completely counterintuitive.
Exactly, and it's dirty tactics, dirty pool being played by the cops and the mayor downtown with when you look into these, we have all these crimes happening on King Street, but as we've told you on here, the crimes are a friend walking a drunk friend home and they arrest the drunk friend even though she has an escort and is perfectly fine and was being responsible and taking care of themselves.
I see that quite often downtown.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. I never feel, again, I have to say it, I've never felt unsafe downtown, even late at night. 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
There's getting some problems, particularly on the east side of the peninsula. You're getting some real issues. Last night, I parked at a spot, and then I thought better of it. I spent about 45 minutes with Restaurant Week looking for parking. Finally found a parking spot down past Hassel, behind East Bay, back in there by the water. And as I left there, I remember that a friend got mugged there in that general area a few nights ago. It was late at night, like 3 a.m., but apparently the guy pulled a gun on him. He threw up on him twice. So what you going to do if you run into a Charleston mugger? Just turn into the Exorcist, because that is the one thing that Charleston criminals are afraid of is demon possession. So
yeah, I can't imagine. That's a bad night for that guy altogether. You know, he thought he was going to mug somebody, got threw up on.
Yeah, he ended up running away after that. So.
Well, but this is the culture that it's turning into, Drew, and I think we'll talk about that even some today, just kind of blowing this up into an existential fashion. You have a situation where the residents who are, and because I don't even know if it's a majority of people down there, but certainly they're able to push the movement, who decide that they want to shut down the downtown because it's too loud for them. And so they, in dominating fashion, decide to just, overpower logic and reason and what's best for the community, because they just want to. And I don't know. I can't necessarily begrudge them for wanting to have some quiet in their house, but like you said, there's a college that has been there for a long time. So it's not like this is something new that's come to town and all of a sudden, things are getting loud. You know what I mean? I mean, there's been a college there for a long time. There's been teenagers and college students and a nightlife in Charleston for a long time. So, now that they've decided that they're not happy with it anymore, they're just going to dominate the culture and get the legislation passed through because that's what they want, even though it's not best for the community, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. We see this happening, though, with other organizations in a larger fashion. I mean, obviously, we're talking about something on a very small scale. But look at what's happening with La Raza, for example. Now pushing Obama, and we'll get into this today, to, quote-unquote, keep his promise and pass executive amnesty for 8 million illegals. Obama hasn't kept his promise for anybody in this country. Why do they feel like they are special in the sense that he's going to keep his promise to them and pass executive amnesty? I mean, it's obviously not in the best interest for the United States to do something like that. And anybody using, reason or logic would understand that. But you've got these illegals who have some sort of sense of entitlement. I guess that's been pushed by the Obama administration. They've gone down there. They've advertised, come on up here. We'll take care of you. We'll give you free stuff. And so he gave them a sense of entitlement that if they got here, they would be able to get all this free stuff, have kids, and they'd have citizenship and all this other stuff. And it amazes me, too, and we talked about this a little bit last week, but now Mexico has shut down their southern border, and they're launching investigations and raids on these beast trains, Drew, which is something they should have done all along.
Exactly, but they had the deal with El Salvador and with Guatemala to push the illegals through as long as they didn't get off the beast.
Exactly.
We've got the deals with ISIS working with the cartels down there. They all love beheading people.
So what I see that happened, now that we can kind of look back at it and use some hindsight here, Captain Hindsight, I think what happened is Obama went down there and struck a deal to usher through this certain amount of illegals, just enough to rattle the cages up here, pass. I still don't really understand the full-on motive. I get that you want to collapse the border, turn it into a democracy up here with a bunch of illegals that are going to vote for the Democratic Party and all that. But how did Obama sell this? I guess that's what I understand. How did he sell them closing their southern border and ushering through 5 million illegals and then shutting it all down and starting back up normal border inspections? Well, it's in Mexico.
It's General Petraeus. It's his statement on this when he asked what comes after America, and he said North America. He didn't sell them on this. This goes back to the plans of the North American Union. Mm-hmm. We saw that start popping up on driver's license back in 2004 with the NAU logo. And it's just more pushing for a borderless North America, trying to make a European Union system here, which that's working so great for Europe. Mm-hmm. And
to talk to people in Europe, they have a lot of these same situations with illegal immigrants. It's not Mexicans, but right, it's their illegal Muslims.
Yeah, it's the illegal Muslims coming into France, coming into Great Britain, that's demanding Hala meets at Subway, that's beheading British soldiers in the streets, that's putting anti-Semitic slogans all over buildings in France.
It's the exact same thing.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And now we see the Islamic Muslims, ISIS, coming in here and coming through our southern border, teaming up with the cartels. There's a video out that InfoWars did yesterday of one of their reporters dressed in full head-to-toe ISIS-looking gear, carrying an ISIS flag and a fake head across the river there at a park in front of a bunch of people, showing how easy it is for ISIS to cross the border. There was another person that did it dressed as Osama bin Laden.
Mm-hmm.
That came in.
Yeah, James O'Keefe.
Yeah.
And that's...
Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs went and crossed and bought a taco just to show how easy it was. He went down to Mexico, bought a taco, and came back to America.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if the border was open both ways, if I could go to Mexico and I could have free child care and get an Obama phone and be put on the government dole, then maybe it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But it's not. You go to Mexico, you're going to get arrested.
That's
and
right.
You're going to get shaken down for, $30,000, $40,000 from your family. They're going to run your credit, see if you have money. If you do, they're going to shake down your family for money to release you. Look at the Marine that we've still got that's down there in jail for crossing the border with rifles.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And we're not doing anything to get him back. We'll go and we'll negotiate with ISIS to try to release journalists or to release Bowie Bergdahl. We'll do that, but we won't do anything for Marines sitting down in Mexico.
And so that's the thing people don't understand. That's why we keep emphasizing the fact that this isn't just Mexicans. It's Central and South Americans and so forth that came through here.
It's a lot of
it was
El Salvador MS-13.
Right, a planned shutdown of the southern border because like you said, you can't just go into Mexico and not get arrested. So how did all these people just get through Mexico without getting arrested? Well, the drug cartels were running the train, and they had all had dirty under-the-table deals done to let it happen. It was an intentional, pre-planned flood. And now we see the consequences of it. We got Border Patrol people speaking out. I saw this about how they're getting attacked. You got videos of the dude with the Border Patrol guy with just under his eye, his cheeks busted open from where they're throwing rocks and assaulting our Border Patrol agents, the ones that are actually there. There's very few still left actually on the border. And the problem is they're not really on the border, and they're still getting attacked by people crossing the border. That tells you how in this country they really are. They're already 40 miles in the country when they start assaulting our Border Patrol guys.
Yeah. And again, why should we really open up the border to La Raza? Why should we open the border to this when they're coming here and they tell us that chants of USA make them sick? Mm-hmm. We had that story a couple weeks ago.
So this is the issue, I think. You've got Hillary Clinton out there saying that our most crucial... I mean, this is unbelievable, Drew. Hillary Clinton... Climate change is the most urgent, consequential challenge we face. She said that this week.
Oh, of course, because they can push it back to climate change. And the polar ice caps that are supposed to be gone by now, according to Al Gore, are at record sizes. They're increasing. The amount of ice on the polar ice caps, they're increasing. So
yeah,
she's also praising Henry Kissinger's new upcoming book, World Order, talking about one world government. And let's take us out to break here before we go real quick with the clip of Henry Kissinger talking about Obama ushering in a new world order. Well, maybe if it'll load and play.
Well, we are going to take a break here, so we'll get this queued up and play it. But obviously lots to talk about. And regardless of Hillary Clinton's speech here for the annual energy conference in Las Vegas, and her intentions now to turn away from Obama and set herself up for presidential run, the most consequential challenge we face is the border and unemployment and the oncoming economical crisis.
And Obama should just be straight with La Raza right now. If they're out here crying about, what about the promises you made? Why doesn't he just tell them, look, we can't pass this till after the midterms or else everybody that's involved will lose.
Yeah.
Americans do not want amnesty. Look at what happened to Eric Cantor in Virginia in the primaries because of his stance on amnesty. Well, a vote for amnesty is a vote to lose your job if you're a congressman or if you're a representative.
Well, this is what is going to be their own backlash, is giving a sense of entitlement to people who don't even understand why they're getting it. So cue that up. Let's go to break. And you're listening to The Weekend Sit and Spin. Nick O'Kelly, Drew Howard. We'll be right back right after this.
But if you had to say this is going to be the country or the conflict or the place that will define the Obama administration, what would it be?
The president-elect is coming into office at a moment when there are upheavals in many parts of the world simultaneously. You have India, Pakistan, you have the jihadist movement. So he can't really say there is one problem, that it's the most important one. But he can give a new impetus to American foreign policy, partly because the reception of him is so extraordinary around the world. I think his task will be to develop an overall strategy for America in this period when really a new world order can be created. It's a great opportunity. It isn't such a crisis.
Thanks for tuning in to KineticHiFi.com. Stay tuned in. Thanks.
It's a fact. Nearly 80% of us will have back pain at some point in our lives. And for some of us, it can be debilitating. If you live in the Charleston, South Carolina area and have any kind of back issue, Peninsula Chiropractic is your answer. Peninsula Chiropractic has a reputation built on great customer service and the results most chiropractors can't deliver. One patient and local firefighter says, "I have been a patient with Peninsula Chiropractic for nearly 10 years. Dr. Ty and Dr. Rob have treated me with the utmost skill, respect, and kindness as a person and a patient. I feel extremely confident with their skills and have recommended Peninsula Chiropractic to numerous people, not to mention the relaxed atmosphere and genuine caring staff that is Peninsula Chiropractic. Don't spend another day in pain. Call Peninsula Chiropractic today at 843-723-6475. That's 723-6475. Or visit the office, conveniently located within the Sergeant Jasper Building downtown at 310 Broad Street, number 2, Charleston, South Carolina.
Surprise the love of your life with the meal of their dreams. Why fight traffic, weather, wait lists, annoying waiters, when the best of Charleston can come to you? Chef Michael Finau has over 20 years of culinary expertise to please your palate. Enjoy a romantic getaway in the privacy of your own home. Pricing is much more affordable than many downtown locations, and gift certificates are available. Simply visit cookingforcouples.co, cookingforcouples.co, or call Chef Michael 843-714-8693, 843-714-8693.
Yeah, it's what happens when you cross big with small. KineticHiFi.com. It's me. What you think I was gonna say? Hey, you people get your head together. I don't even know what time to have an attitude over here. I ain't got time.
Okay, welcome back.
Having
It's the
computer
weekend
issues
sit and
this
spin
morning.
here.
Yeah.
KineticHiFi.com. I'm Nico Kelly. Drew
on.
Howard in here is with me as always. So I want to kind of set the stage here for what's going on. And it's really sad because I was just scrolling through my Facebook news feed here in the break. Not that I like to admit that, but sometimes there are some good posts in there. And someone posted about how one of the most dangerous threats that America faces right now is not even necessarily this ISIS threat that is very real and very serious, but is the fact that we have a president in the office, in the White House, who doesn't care, doesn't have his head in the game, isn't whatever you want to call it. The point is he's been put in to serve a certain purpose, to play out a specific task, like you heard Henry Kissinger saying there just as we were going to break. You know, he has an extraordinary opportunity, he says, to bring in a new world order because he's had such a reaction worldwide. And it is amazing that when he first came into office, he went over to Germany to 500,000 people standing and cheering, and now he can barely get the 5,000 that they invite to show up because he's literally not kept his promise to anybody. And yet he's still in office, supposedly pushing an agenda. He says that immigration is coming very, very soon. We got La Raza, like we were saying, demanding that he pass it right now because he made a promise and they want him to keep it, and they're done waiting, they say, which just shows how stupid the whole situation is anyway, like you were saying, because if he was to pass it right now, you would have a lot of voters rise up here before the election. It would probably kill the whole situation. But anyway, we have a president in office who inherently I don't think is really even American. He doesn't seem like he at all abides by the values that make up America or want to continue those or further those or empower those in any way. And that's a big threat, I think, to our society. And that's what we see happening now is a threat to our society and our culture that they're trying to basically destroy. W&D had an article this morning from Tom DeLay, Obama paralyzed by Muslim sympathies. And, you saw the video of him speaking in front of the Muslim prayer rug. I loved the meme that I saw one time where you had several different presidents. It was Bush, Clinton, and Reagan, and several of the past ones, all standing in front of American flag. And then the last picture was Obama standing in front of a Muslim prayer rug. And again, it goes to highlight how he really does sympathize with these Muslims.
Well, he said it since day one that, the most beautiful sound in the world is the Muslim call to prayer. We've got him saying that, talking about his time in Indonesia. We've got this whole backstory with the Kenyan and everything to dissuade from the fact that his real father is Frank Marshall Davis. There's a great Joel Gilbert, Dreams of My Real Father. You can watch that. It paints a clear picture that he is the son of a communist pornographer, Frank Marshall Davis, who was raised in the Saul Alinsky just complete tear down the government to rebuild a socialist utopia dream. And that's what he's pushing through. He's got definite ties to Islam, a definite disdain for the state of Israel. We've seen that through all his actions.
Yeah, and it's really creepy. It's getting really creepy to have a president who doesn't sympathize with the American people. And I said this when he was coming into office because at that point a lot of it was rumor and a lot of it was speculation. But based on his past, based on what we knew about him, we could speculate, and we're correct, that he's a socialist. He's not at all any kind of a republic American or republic-loving American at all.
For a constitutional lawyer, he's found the loopholes to destroy the Constitution, and he's doing it by turning the office of the presidency into a dictatorship. Not necessarily himself as a dictator, but that office into a dictatorship. So whoever the New World Order decides to push into that position, whether it be Hillary Clinton, whether it be Jeb Bush, whether it be Tony Soprano out of New Jersey there, Chris Christie, whoever they decide to push in there is going to take the place and just keep pushing this agenda for a new world order.
And you may say, well, why would what about Rand Paul or one of those people going in there? Look, I'd be a little skeptical of them anyway because the problem is...
If they get in, I would be skeptical. The fact is I don't think they would ever let that happen. First off, again, the voting machines are made by Siemens, who is a company directly from Nazi Germany. Siemens worked with the Nazis, and I don't trust the voting machines because of that. It's the same as the Lego movie. Octan makes such great things. All history books, voting machines, wait. Even Emmett had the realization that if our voting machines are made by a company, whoever that company is invested in is going to win the election.
Yeah,
and he's plastic, and he realized it.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, the point is, if they were able to even get into office, though, then you have the machine of corporate lobbyists, corporate companies, and lobbying situations that could buy out the president, the stock markets, all these other countries.
They wouldn't even buy it out. Look at JFK. They would blow their head off.
Well,
you stand up against the New World Order, you get your head blown off.
But that's the problem. Mm-hmm. That's already happened. So there's very few people who are going to risk that.
Exactly.
They're just going to go along with it.
I think there's a lot of truth in the Bill Hicks bit that whoever's elected president, it doesn't matter what they promise you on the campaign trail. As soon as they're elected that night, before they even get to their victory party, they're drug into a room with all of these fat cat New World Order Illuminati scumbags. A giant monitor comes down. It's a different angle of the JFK assassination. The camera pounds around to show the jackal sitting there with the gun smiling. Any questions? Yeah. What's my agenda? What am I pushing this week? And that's what it is we've been infiltrated by Project Paperclip, by these Nazi douchebags that came over here after World War II. They took over the CIA, they took over NASA, they took over the education, they took over every American institution, and they have corrupted it. There is no clearer picture of what we are facing than Captain America 2. Hydra infiltrating it is exactly what we're dealing with. The fact that they even played Hydra off of Project Paperclip is exactly what we are dealing with in our government, in our corrupt institutions, and why we have to tear it all to the ground and rebuild on the constitutional foundation we were given.
Well,
I had a funny situation. I got to throw this one in here, Nick, because you'll appreciate it. I had a funny situation at work the other day, my day job. I don't really like to talk about it a lot, but I was waiting tables, and I was waiting on a couple from Germany. That were tourists over here. They were talking about they were in Charleston visiting from Germany, and oh yeah, we like Charleston, and yeah, but it's just this food too much. I can't eat it all. It's too big of portions. And I'm like, yeah, in America we have big portions. He's like, oh yeah, I see the results everywhere I look. And he called Americans fat. So now I have 6,000,001 reasons to not like Germans.
Well, but the sad thing is, it's a big problem here. We deal with obesity, and that's because of the culture that we live in. That they've, corporations have been allowed to sit around and build these fast food organizations that sell cheap meat at cheap prices and fatten up the population. We've got heart disease running rampant. We've got diabetes running rampant. We've got heart attacks like crazy in this country. It's bad.
Yeah, and we had fast food workers protesting on the crosstown this week, shutting down the crosstown, trying to get $15 an hour.
What I don't like is when people come over here wanting to enjoy the spoils that we've enjoyed here in America and then proceed to make fun of it. If you want to come over and experience the culture, do so without being a, you know what I mean. Okay, I don't go over there and make fun of all the stuff that they do. I go try out the culture.
No, I make fun of all the stuff they do from here because they deserve it. Like I said, every major world problem we've had in the last 200 years falls squarely at the feet of the Germans. I'm tired of them. If there's one group that ISIS needs to annihilate from this earth, it is Germany.
Well, point being, what we have in the office right now of the president is a president who was brought in as a Muslim sympathizer. And when you really start to think about the overall look of the New World Order and the fact that they wanted to push that agenda forward like we're talking about here, what would make the most sense to bring in when we're talking about a revolving door for the presidency that's a dictatorship, which is what they've now been able to establish? What would make the most sense as far as who to bring in order to continue to perpetuate this war on terror and allowing ISIS to get away with all of this? You would want to bring in a Muslim sympathizer to be able to push this agenda. I think it makes total sense from that perspective. And that's exactly what we have in the White House, is a Muslim sympathizer. And it's Jerome Corsi that reported this, but he says, quote, "In defending America against radical Islamic terrorism, Barack Obama cannot be trusted." That's Tom DeLay. Barack Obama was raised a Muslim. He claims he's a Christian, and I cannot say for sure whether he's a Christian or not, but he has shown over the last few years that he has great sympathies with Islam. You combine that with Obama's political orientation that is far to the left, and you get a president who hates war, hates the military, and you have a formula for military inaction when it comes to combating radical Islamic terrorists like we are seeing. You add to mix that Barack Obama is incompetent, way over his head as president, and the whole combination produces a worldview that makes Obama detached and reluctant to take the type of military action against ISIS that would be effective. And, quite frankly, I don't know that his orders aren't just to let it happen. ISIS just marching, and it amazes me. They start. What happened to the air raid campaign for the people in the mountains? Because they're still trapped up there. They came out and said they were going to do that. We know that it was to keep them in their region. That's what it really was.
Exactly. And if they were serious about taking out ISIS, like we said 3 months ago when they first went into Iraq, you had miles and miles and miles of caravans lined up there in brand new Toyota trucks with ISIS driving from Syria to Iraq. Why didn't you drone them then? Why didn't you just drop bombs down the highway and take them all out? Mm-hmm. Because they're the new threat. Americans figured out that Al-Qaeda was ran by the CIA, that it was really Al-Qaeda, so they changed the name.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're using late-night infomercial tactics where all they're doing is changing the name for Flex Seal and putting it in a new can and putting it out there with a new person because Billy Mays is dead.
And that's true because that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, it's like I saw the new. Have you seen the new non-stick skillet? Now they painted it a stone color instead of the green. It's still the exact same thing. This is ISIS. ISIS is Al Qaeda.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely rebranded to confuse. And you see they throw in ISIL every once in a while too.
Oh, that's Obama's word for it.
Yeah, ISIL.
Yeah.
Well, why is it that Obama has his own special word?
Because that shows more respect than ISIS. Apparently, ISIS is a racist term like Redskins.
ISIL's the real term.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, see, I didn't know that.
Yep. But that's okay. Don't worry about the fact that ISIS now has 11 stolen jet airliners from Tripoli. Don't worry about the fact that ISIS has surface-to-air missiles from Benghazi. Don't worry about the fact that ISIS is crossing our southern border working with the drug cartels. Don't worry about that because, here's naked pictures of celebrities that were stupid enough to put it on the cloud, and let's worry about Michael Sam.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's been the big stories this week everywhere you've turned. Naked celebrity pictures. And, it's such an invasion of privacy. You are stupid enough to take naked pictures and put them on the cloud.
I know. We sit here every week talking about how they're looking at everything you do. They're data mining everything you do on your computer. They can literally turn on your computer at any time they want to and take anything off of it they want.
Turn on your webcam. Turn on your phone. We've talked about the apps on your phone and what they can do. What's built into the terms and conditions you agree every time you download an app is giving them control of your microphone, giving them control of your camera, giving them control of your contacts book, giving them control of your email.
Whatever happened to having a good old SD card with some pictures on it? Why you got to put everything on the cloud? That's crazy. Why would you do that?
Because it lives forever on the cloud. It's like South Park.
I mean, it does, though. That's the serious thing. Rand Paul says, I am not an isolationist in Time magazine, and that Obama has created a jihadist wonderland. If I had been in President Obama's shoes, I would have acted more decisively and strongly against ISIS. Some pundits are surprised that I support destroying the ISIS military. They shouldn't be. I've said since I began public life that I'm not an isolationist, nor am I an interventionist. But he says our recent foreign policy has allowed radical jihadists to proliferate. Today, there are more terrorist groups than there were before 9/11, most notably ISIS. After all the sacrifice in Afghanistan and Iraq, why do we find ourselves in a more dangerous world? And why, after 6 years, does President Obama lack a strategy to deal with threats like ISIS? I think that's relatively obvious, Rand. He lacks a response to ISIS because ISIS is being used to expand the police state at home. They have no intention of suppressing ISIS or stopping ISIS.
No, ISIS is the great big boogeyman to keep the military-industrial complex going right now, to keep us in this war on terror.
I'm just wondering what's going to happen when ISIS actually does commit an attack on this country.
That's happening this week.
Is there going to be a retaliation from the White House?
You'll see something set up as a scapegoat again. This is why we got to go into Syria. If we'd overthrown Assad a year ago, ISIS wouldn't be here. No, if we'd overthrown Assad a year ago, ISIS would have been in control of Syria. That's what we were going to overthrow Assad for, was to give it to control of ISIS. Our military realized that. That's why we had so many of our officers, so many of our enlisted men go onto YouTube, go onto Twitter, cover saying, I'm not fighting for Al-Qaeda. That's why you had Rand Paul on the floor of the U.S. Senate saying we are not Al-Qaeda's Air Force, and Ted Cruz standing up against it because the jig was up. We knew what was going on. We knew that this was going in to overthrow Assad, to put Al-Qaeda in charge, just like in Libya. We went in there, we overthrew Gaddafi. Not that Gaddafi was a good guy, but Gaddafi was trying to build up Africa. He was trying to use petroleum money to actually build up the entire continent of Africa. To keep things like this Ebola outbreak from happening and running wild.
Mm-hmm. But, we can even, getting even a little more outside of the box, I could see a situation. We've seen what's been happening recently is that they've been training the military, training the police to take on the Tea Party, to take on the American citizens. You've got the training facility that looks like an American city in Virginia. I could see a situation where ISIS performs an actual attack and they blame it on the Tea Party. Rather than actually going back after ISIS. Even though I don't know that would happen, because you've got the no big contracts to Halliburton and so forth that they make so much money off this war on terrorism. So when the attack happens, they could go back after ISIS and continue to proliferate it, or they could just bring the whole military situation at home. We've got articles coming out every week. Here is one from Vice News. The Pentagon is giving grenade launchers to campus police. This is a new one. The Pentagon's 1033 program, which we know is what's rearming all the police forces, allows the Defense Department to unload excess military equipment to local police forces, has quietly overflowed onto college campuses, according to documents obtained by the website Muckruck. More than 100 campus police forces have received military materials from the Pentagon. Schools that participate in the program range from liberal arts to community colleges to the entire University of Texas, Emory, Rice, Purdue, University of California, Berkeley, all on the list. 1990, Congress enacted the National Defense Authorization Act, including the magnanimous Section 1208, which since 1996 has been known as Program 1033. So over the last 17 years, this gift economy has distributed more than $4.3 billion worth of equipment. But I can't believe. But colleges now can also apply for Homeland Security grants, the same ones made available to every municipal police department in the country. So you've got actual community college. Can you imagine the community college, Trident Tech, or Randolph County Community College up in where I grew up in Asheboro, North Carolina, having grenade launchers?
It's going to lead to another Kent State situation.
So, that's what really worries me. We see Ferguson happening. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine the chaos of a real ISIS attack on American soil? I mean, Americans haven't seen, we've seen 9/11 happen.
Well, the difference between that and Ferguson would be that was something that was warranted if we actually had an attack and we required a response. Ferguson was... I'm just so sickened by what we saw there, and especially with everything that's coming out and the race baiting, the instigation. Again, there are issues of police brutality in this country, but why do you choose the Mike Brown situation? Why do you choose the Trayvon Martin situation to galvanize to when those are clearly criminals whose actions resulted in their deaths?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Where's this outrage over Eric Gardner in New York, who was choked out and killed by the cops just for selling cigarettes on the street? Where's the Oscar Grant, who was shot in the back by BART transit officials in Oakland when he was laying on the ground? Where's that outrage? Were the real innocent people gunned down by cops or murdered by cops? Instead, you get these wannabe thugs who go out there and pick a fight with a cop or a neighborhood watchman and end up dying from it. Their actions led to their deaths.
Yeah, well...
Quit victimizing them. It's the same as this nude celebrity scandal. Your actions led to it. It's your fault. Admit it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The problem is we have the Department of Justice tied up, still investigating into Trayvon Martin's death. Talk about race baiting.
Well, that's because Eric Holder's, racist in charge.
Yeah, you saying that just made me think of this, and I saw it on Breitbart today. But it says U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder revealed that the Department of Justice is still probing the death of Trayvon Martin, even saying that there have been recent developments in the investigation of the 2012 shooting. It appears that during a press conference about another civil rights case the DOJ is opening in Fergus, Missouri, Holder noted that the investigation into Martin's death is still ongoing. Quote, there are active steps that we are still in the process of taking. There are witnesses who we want to speak to as a result of some recent developments. What recent developments could we have? But see,
considering the trial's already over, he was found innocent by a jury of his peers.
But see, this is the thing here, Drew. We have shootings constantly, like you're saying. We've got police brutality all over the country. But they're focusing on this from 2012 because it caused a racial uprising in this country. They want to probe it. They want to find out why that caused that racial uprising, because that's what they need to be able to control the political atmosphere here is division. Division within the ranks. Even in the Democratic and Republican Party, within them, you can divide them on the basis of race. Ferguson worked. Trayvon Martin worked. They want to know why. So they're going to continue probing those things. Probably why Eric Holder was even put in charge of those investigations. It's sick. It's disgusting. And what was it? A week later, we had the black cop kill the white guy, or the Hispanic guy, or whatever it was in Atlanta, or wherever that was. It was like a week later after Ferguson. No media coverage. We reported it here. But this is what we're talking about. This is the situation that we're in. Divide and conquer in this country. They want us distracted and fighting with one another while they try to push forward their own agendas. The one big one that they're trying to push forward right now. That's why you got Hillary Clinton running around saying climate change is the most consequential thing to our society right now. No. The most consequential problem that our culture here in America is facing right now is the complete collapse of our sovereign nation. It's not just the border that's not being protected. I mean, that's the problem. That's the root cause. But the result is that we no longer have sovereignty as an American, as a country. You know, they can just bring in whoever they want, give free amnesty to them, completely collapse the economy. And the problem is the more people they put on welfare, the bigger the federal government gets. We already can't afford it. You know, the federal government is already too big for what we can afford. That's why we're in constant debt. And they just want to collapse all of that by bringing more people, putting them more on welfare, overloading the entire system, and completely destroying our culture of hardworking, progressive Americans. The NRA boss, LaPierre, says Americans fear their country off the rails. That's out of Washington Times. No kidding. The National Rifle Association has unleashed a multi-million-dollar TV advertising campaign that its longtime leader says is aimed at messaging beyond gun rights and reaching middle-class mothers, minorities, and other Americans, quote, who believe our country is off the rail. The gun lobby's campaign, launched in the last 10 days, uncharacteristically delves into issues far beyond the Second Amendment to explore the IRS scandal, media elitism, and security vulnerabilities with a call to return, quote, good guys to power. Quote, this campaign is a gathering of shared values that gives a sense of right and wrong, NRA Executive Vice President Wayne LaPierre told the Washington Times. The collection of issues and ads confront are representative of the the conversations Mr. LaPierre said he has had throughout the country with NRA members and concerned citizens. Quote, they're worried the character of the country is at risk. It's all collapsing. They care about their Second Amendment freedoms, but understand that all freedoms are connected. The first ad in a 16-ad series lays out a simple question to the American public. Do you still believe in the good guys? Well, there's not very many good guys left in Congress because the Congress also has been bought out. This is the big problem here. You know, they're being paid off to pass all this legislation, or stay at home even, you know, while the legislation is being passed. The Federal Reserve passed over Christmas. You know, people are on vacation. And this is the tactic they continue to use to push forward legislation year after year after year that they know the American people will care about if they knew about it, but they're too busy, distracted by parades and things and television and dinners to know what's going on.
And let's look back at the crash of 29 and the whole economic roller coaster that was the 20s. Like you brought up the other day, it wasn't just the crash there. We've had depression after depression, recession after recession, constant ups and downs with the economy since 1913, since the introduction of the Fed, since the fiat currency came in. And we got away from gold.
Usually two recessions associated with the Depression.
Yeah. But what happened during the 20s? Everybody was distracted with the flapper movement, with the entertainment, the glitz and glamour of early Hollywood, the big band era.
Great Gatsby.
Yeah, exactly. The Great Gatsby culture, where it was, let's lose ourselves in these parties and this mentality and forget that the world's crashing around us. Mm-hmm. What are we seeing again now?
Exactly.
The same deal. Let's bury our head in the sand. Let's worry about, the NFL looks homophobic because they cut Michael Sam. No, Michael Sam can't play. Why don't you just admit that? Michael Sam can't play.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
they should have made it the ultimate PA stunt, send him to Green Bay, let him be a Packer.
Yeah, that's good. They have a fudge factory in Green Bay?
By the way, you can get Dusty Slay's new comedy CD, Making That Fudge. It's available on all digital downloads now. I want to give a shout out to my friend Dusty Slay. So.
Well, yeah, that's really what should have happened there. But that's the censorship that our culture is derived into now. You know, and maybe we could bring that up. We got a break here. Let's bring that up to close out the first hour. The censorship with the Joan Rivers situation, how the liberal...
I want to get this Mark Dice video, too, about the Illuminati killed her because she exposed Michelle Obama being a tranny. And
well, I'll tell you,
all these videos online.
The thing is, though, and I don't buy into every celebrity death being, Illuminati death or whatever. But the timing of it is very coincidental. I mean, you got 2 months after she comes out publicly.
It happened on Beyonce's 33rd birthday.
Oh, good Lord. Did it really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
It was an Illuminati murder.
Well, I don't know about all that, but I do know that 2 months ago she was on public television, TMZ, talking about Michelle Obama being a tranny, and then they botched the surgery, and the family is looking to sue.
And apparently there's a new Family Guy scene also.
Oh, wow. See, that's getting creepy.
Yeah.
That's getting
every
creepy.
time something happens, there's a Family Guy reference, yeah.
The Boston thing, and then also the terrorist attack. It's weird. Family Guy's getting weird.
Yeah, and we'll get the video of Joan Rivers murdered on Beyonce's 33rd birthday. I got that Mark Dice video we'll play after
So we'll play that. I want to talk about how the liberal left has flipped this situation, too, because that's the really important thing, I think, to focus on with this Joan Rivers situation is the censorship behind it. And what's happened to our culture as a whole when we take a look at comedy.
Yep.
Because the comedy industry is a good way to get an idea of censorship as well.
And September 11th's coming up this week, which means happy birthday, New World Order. We got George H.W. Bush again announcing them September 11th, 1991.
Do you know
Clubbing my dates there, but happy birthday to the New World Order this September 11th again.
Do you know that Charles Lindbergh was warning against the Federal Reserve System on September 11th in a speech to Congress?
Really?
Yeah.
We always see that date coming back up.
That's in that Zeitgeist movie. Very interesting. All right.
Well, both the World Trade Center towers, their capstone or their cornerstones were laid on September 11th.
It's very weird. Yep. Numerology, man. There's something to it.
Numerology and symbology.
I don't buy into all the conspiracies, but there is something to this. I mean, we are living in a possessed environment. The Bible predicted it. We'll be right back. This is the Weekend Sit and Spin. Nick O'Kelly, Drew Howard. Stick around. There's more to come.
And this is Creed.
You're listening to Get Out of Guy Fight.com. Stay tuned for Hot Chicks on the radio.
Hi, this is Bob Charles, the host of The Bob Charles Show. I very rarely endorse anything, but this service deserves my attention. Atlantic Repair LLC is the only credit restoration company that is actually headquartered here in Charleston, South Carolina. Unlike other companies that overcharge you because a middleman gets paid and then your credit report goes to Poland packed in sauerkraut. This company is here to help all of us and our credit problems like low scores, collections, judgments, inquiries, and a bunch of more bad stuff. Call Atlantic Repair LLC at 888-957-1118. They are the one company in South Carolina that charges 50% less than any other service on the planet, and no monthly fees either. They work till they are done. They get my vote. Now it's your turn. Call 888-957-1118 or go to www.atlanticrepairllc.com and follow the directions on page 1. They care for you.
Hey, there's no shortage of folks out there who claim to be website designers, graphic artists. It seems like every day you hear about a new social media firm promising to optimize your website and social media visibility. What you may not know is that very few of these folks have the experience and talent necessary to fulfill their lofty promises. As a small business owner, you know every dollar spent needs to have an impact, and there's simply no better way to set your business up for success than to trust your online needs to Charleston's premier full production service, Advent Designs. Advent Designs has a history of success and customer satisfaction which is unmatched, and you can rest assured that your investment will see outstanding returns. Whether you need an intuitive new website, an eye-catching logo, a powerful new banner, or comprehensive social media campaign, Advent Designs is ready to help. Call Advent Designs today at 843-298-1619. That's 843-298-1619. Or visit the website at advent-designs.com. Advent Designs, the power of perfection. Thank you for listening to KineticHiFi.com Community Radio.
Can't you see I'm easily bothered by persistence? One step from lashing out at you. You want to get under my skin and call yourself a friend. I've got more friends like you.
All right, welcome back to the Weekend Sit and Spin. I'm Nick O'Kelly, Drew Howard with me here in the KineticHiFi.com studios. Yeah, so very sad this week. I mean, certainly an icon, 81 years old. Joan Rivers passes away. They always come in threes. You know, we had Robin Williams passing, now Joan Rivers. And I'm certainly not one who deifies celebrities. I've never really been into the whole love for celebrity cult. I have my favorites as well. Everybody does. We all love the movies. We all love to go see movies. So sure, I have my favorite actors. But I've never been somebody who really gets into that whole TMZ, trash magazine culture. It's just not my thing. I don't like it. I don't get it. But I do enjoy seeing a witty celebrity making funny comments because they do have a platform they get to get on television. So it's always funny to see that. And Joan Rivers, one of those people that you would often see making remarks and comments and getting publicity for it. And obviously, 2 months ago, we had her comments very public from TMZ about Michelle Obama.
Ms. Rivers, how are you? You made a ton of news officiating the wedding in New York yesterday. Is this like a new cottage career move for you?
I'm so excited.
Okay.
And I should do very well because I don't charge.
And do you think that the country will see the United States will see the first gay president or the first woman president?
We already have it with Obama, so let's just calm down.
Got it.
You know Michelle is a
I'm sorry, she's a what?
A transgender. We all know.
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh. It's okay.
I mean, again, I don't think she was joking. I really don't. People are saying that now. They're going to try to say that now that she was just kidding. I don't think so. She says we all know. I think she knows. And I don't know how she knows, but somehow Joan Rivers
there's
knew.
a lot of evidence online. I mean, there's a lot of videos out there and stuff.
The way she said it made me feel like she had firsthand knowledge. You know what I'm saying? I don't know for sure.
I mean, when she's worked around that many transgendered people and stuff, with E-News and the red carpets and everything, I'm sure
true.
that she's probably been around it. And that much plastic surgery, she knows the telltale signs to look for. I mean,
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, I did see a really good article today on Breitbart. I want to highlight just a small part of it here that I think you would enjoy, Drew, as a comedian yourself. It's coming from John Nolte. It says, with the death of Joan Rivers at 81 Thursday, we lost one more icon in a dwindling breed, the comedian who does not seek the good opinion of the powerful media and the entertainment elite. It says just 2 months before her death, he talks about how she talked about Michelle being a tranny, and then he goes on to say, think about that, a supposed liberal publication said that a comedian, quote, took her jokes too far. That's the Huffington Post he's referring to. Barack Obama's terrorist friend Bill Ayers standing on the American flag isn't as offensive and un-American as someone saying a comedian took her jokes too far. Now Rivers has gone and outside of a handful of comedic insurgents like Don Rickles, Dennis Miller, Adam Carolla. We're stuck with politically correct palace guards like Jon Stewart, Sarah Silverman, Stephen Colbert, Tina Fey, Lena Dunham, the cast of SNL, and pretty much everyone associated with Funny or Die. All big government-loving cowards desperate to fit into a comedic class that believes political correctness is a virtue, and those who buck it should be held up to ridicule.
And that's really the difference in comedy that you see is the statists, the ones that want to keep the status quo going, like the ones they named there. I don't even think Lena Dunham should be in the comedy conversation. Her show's not funny. It's only liked by Huffington Post and liberal trash like that.
Well, I think that's his point here, is that they're selling as people that aren't even
no ratings,
comedians anymore.
Exactly. Jon Stewart is allowed to say whatever he wants to as long as he's making fun of anything conservative, Christian, libertarian, gun owner, returning veteran, anything that's labeled a Southern Poverty Law Center, Department of Homeland Security terrorist. We see not Dennis Miller. No, he's kind of conservative or libertarian. I'm thinking of what's the dude on HBO? I'm drawing a blank now. Bill Maher.
Bill Maher.
Yeah, Bill Maher. I mean, he again can say the most vile, reprehensible things he wants to about Sarah Palin, and the leftists laughed at that. Mm-hmm. But Rush Limbaugh goes off and says, "Hey, we don't want to pay for this woman's birth control that's talking to Congress," and all of a sudden he's slut shaming her and all of this other horrible things. You're hearing the calls for him to be taken off the air. It's a despicable double standard we see. The rodeo clown is a perfect example of it.
Exactly.
The rodeo clown wearing the Obama mask. Look, Will Ferrell was loved for his lampooning of George W. Bush. But now we get a rodeo clown wearing an Obama mask, and all of a sudden that's the greatest terrorist offense to our country since 9/11?
And it's disgusting. And I just want to give you this too, because you say this a lot. He says in this article, Joan Rivers attacked everyone, from Michelle Obama to Sarah Palin. Whether you enjoyed her style or not, it was nice knowing that someone was out there with the courage to invite this kind of outrage that caused the Huffington Post to accuse you of going too far.
It's the same reason why I support Matt and Trey. Do I agree with everything that they do? No. Do I agree with every stance they take? No. I agree with probably 90% of the stuff that they put out there, but they go after everybody. It's cost them personal relationships. They lost Chef because of it. Isaac Hayes left the show because they went after Scientology. But like they said, how can we sit here and make fun of Christianity, make fun of Judaism, make fun of Islam, and not make fun of Scientology?
This is amazing, Drew, because, again, I want to read just a couple more sentences because you're saying exactly. I just want to highlight that we don't just say, I feel like we have good commentary here. It says here, what makes this even more horrific is the double standard. Bill Maher calls Sarah Palin a C-U-N-T. Louis C.K. says everything about Palin that are too grotesque to repeat. David Letterman jokes about Palin's underage daughter getting knocked up. That's fine in America. Rush Limbaugh, however, who is both an entertainer and commentator, uses the word slut and for weeks becomes public enemy number one in the media. Reality TV star Phil Robertson is massacred on cable news and almost fired for crudely expressing his Christian beliefs.
And now
this is fascism.
He had another one this week where they came out against Phil Robertson because he said with ISIS, either convert them or kill them. Those are the two options. You don't have a middle ground here. We can't, wall off an area and give it to ISIS and give us the other area. It's not going to work that way. You either have to convert them or kill them.
That's right. This is fascism. We're supposed to have free speech in this country. And it used to be said so very often, I may not agree with you, but I defend to the death your right to say it. You don't hear that anymore.
No, because now all you have is free speech to talk about puppies and rainbows and kittens and Michael Sam.
Right.
It makes me sick. Because you know what happened this week? This makes me absolutely sick at the publicity stunts that are going around with Michael Sam. The WWE invited him and gives him an open mic to come on Raw next week and talk. What does that have to do with anything? And I tell you, they want TMZ. That's all it is the WWE wants a soundbite on TMZ.
And the sad thing about that is it's purely marketing, and it really does, to me, just totally degrade the organization. Because the thing is, I've been enjoying the WWE lately. I'll go ahead and admit it here. I enjoy it. It's fun. It's funny. You should maybe pay the $9.99 for 1 month and try it out.
You had to go there. You want to know, actually, that's a great symbol as to why our country is so screwed up right now, is the fact that they can get moronic, brainwashed idiots to chant $9.99.
It's unbelievable.
The stupidest catchphrase possible.
It's crazy. But you know what? That right there, I think, highlights the greed of this country, doesn't it?
The greed and the idiocracy that we're in.
No, but seriously, I've been enjoying it lately. Some of the stuff, and to me, to see a purely entertainment organization be degraded by wanting to get involved in the public circus of Michael Sam, I just, for a marketing ploy. And the thing is, this is someone's life that we're talking about. Think about the fact that they've infiltrated this kid's life and are using him publicly to push an agenda. Oh, do you think he's even aware of what he's being used for? It's very sad, in my opinion.
It is, and he's getting his payoff from Oprah, and he's getting all that. But he is the gay Tim Tebow.
It's really sad.
Right now. They're killing his career by it.
Oh, yeah. No
Leave the man
doubt.
alone. Let him. He's not good enough with a few years on practice squad. He might be a special teams player in the NFL. He might get his NFL dream. Okay, this is one of the hard luck stories in the NFL. Quit making it about him being gay and let him work his way up. Back off. You did this with Tebow in the Christianity thing. You never gave him a shot because you shoved that down everybody's throat.
But see, here's the problem.
And you took every action Tebow did and you had to report on it. They're doing it with Johnny Manziel.
Here's the problem. Our culture has gone to a scenario where we deify these people, and everybody thinks that to be successful, you have to be able to become an NFL player or a movie star. There's only so many positions for that type of job. Not everybody can do it. Okay,
Exactly.
It's not, and that's not what's fulfilling is being able to be that. That's just their job. They get paid to do that, just like I get paid to go to work every day. It's the same thing. They get paid more because there's sponsorship money involved. But that does not equal success. But because that's what our culture has gone to, you have a situation where if Michael Sam doesn't make it, he's not successful, and suddenly the NFL looks bad.
So they had to call
That's
around.
crazy.
Yeah, Jerry Jones said the NFL called around to every team before the Cowboys finally took him for a practice squad. But it's ridiculous, and that's what they want to keep shoving down our throats.
That's right. All right, we got to
It's time
go.
to turn off the TV, get your head out of the sand, and look around you.
Absolutely. We're going to
Live
get to
right
a
from
break.
reality.
More about La Raza and the immigration situation when we get back. Also, Michelle Obama's food plan and how that's going. New unemployment numbers have come out. IRS losing more emails. We got a lot to talk about. This is the Weekend Sit and Spin.
My mom and dad were perfect, but still you don't hear no crying ass bitching from me, like there seems to be on everybody's CD. So just sit back and relax and let me have your head for a minute. I can show you something in it that has yet to be presented.
We got talk shows, we got sunglasses, we got music, we got fake Rolexes. KineticHiFi.com. Keep it locked in, honey butter.
Your business not going right? Don't know how to advertise? Come holler at your boys right here at Signs to See. We specialize in all your advertising needs. You need t-shirts, business cards, signs, banners. We got it all. Car magnets, decals, flyers. We got it all for you right here at Signs to See. Conveniently located at 937 Wapo Road, Suite 2B. You can also call us at 843-608-0722. You got a family reunion, you got a class reunion, and don't know how to get your t-shirts done? Well, call Signs to See. Signs to See is conveniently located at 937 Wapo Road, Suite 2B. Also, you can call us 843-608-0722. Or you can log on, SignsToSee.com. And I do all my business with Signs to See.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah, hey.
Hey, why is the computer so slow?
Internet connection?
It can't be the internet connection. We pay like $300 a month for that.
Holy chestnut.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I know.
Yeah.
So it must be. Let's look around here for a second.
All right.
Yeah. You know what?
What?
Where's this wire go?
That wire?
That wire.
I don't know. It looks new.
It does kind of look new, but then there's like 18 wires down there. Let's try plugging it in over here. What do you say?
No, not there. No, right here.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Are you sure, Tom?
Positive. Plug it in.
All right, let's try that out.
Okay.
Don't be that guy. Instead, put your trust in ITSimplified.com. Cloud computing, data center servers, network management, Web 2.0, SQL, scalable architectures, programming, tech infrastructure, security, and anything else you shouldn't bother trying to figure out. Call 843-376-1991. That's 843-376-1991. ITSimplified.com. That's IT-simplified.com. Solutions simplified.
Hi, this is Eddie Floyd of the International News Show, AM News. I want to tell you about the Wainema Ranch. As a matter of fact, I'm going to invite you to visit Wainema Ranch for one reason. You can visit them online right now and help out where you can with our American heritage, the wild horses and burros at the Wainema Ranch. It is right here north of Reno, Nevada. That's WaiNemaRanch.com, WYNEMA Ranch.com. Get involved. Visit us today and see why I say my wife runs the ranch and I run my mouth.
Do you sometimes think life was just better when I was young? Maybe you're right. You know, there has been a marked decline in girls ages 8 to 14 that participate in Girl Scouting. And today we're looking for girls who are ready to be the leaders of tomorrow. Girls in this age group are vital to Scouting. They serve as role models for younger girls and uplift the community. And ladies, we need you to be that example too. Become a volunteer, a troop leader, or just enroll your daughter in Girl Scouts today. Call 843-552-9910 to learn more.
I want to thank all the women for listening to KineticHiFi.com.
We love it!
I know you do, baby. I know you do.
Welcome back to the Weekend Sit and Spin. It's the rush hour here in the KineticHiFi.com studios. Hour number 2. I'm Nick O'Kelly, Drew Howard with me as always. Going into the break, we were talking about the censorship culture that we've driven ourselves into, and it really has, I think, in my opinion, gotten very much out of hand, that you can no longer... Free speech doesn't exist anymore. And I go back to a message I had from somebody I was having an argument with on Facebook. I'd put up a post and they started arguing with me about I can't even remember what it was, but I remember their comment was that what's not constitutionally protected is fear-mongering and going around talking about how bad everything is or something like that. And I was thinking, you know what, free speech is constitutionally protected. I can say whatever I want. You know, if you just because you call it fear-mongering doesn't mean I don't still have the right to say it. You know, and the fact of the matter is, we really have gone away from exercising that right. And the more we don't exercise our freedoms, the more we will lose them. And we see free speech slipping away very quickly in this country, where you even on television, and it amazes me because they pick and choose who can say and do whatever they want. You know, some of these, movies and TV shows will win all these awards, and it's nothing but just filth and disgusting, raunchy, language and sex and all this, and that'll be heralded and win all these, Emmys and everything else. But then, you got Rush Limbaugh come out and say something about President Obama, and Katie bar the door. We need to get the FCC in there.
Mm-hmm. And that's why they're pushing for the fairness doctrine again. As far as talk radio, as far as the internet, they're really trying to lock that down because, as we've seen with NPR, as we've seen with PBS. Statist, big government-funded messages just don't draw the viewers, doesn't draw the ratings. Mm-hmm. Liberty, conservativeness, libertarian views are vogue right now with people. It's just they will not get the push for it. It's comparable to pro wrestling again. You can have a great talent, in-ring worker, great on the mic. If they don't get the right bookings, the right push, they're going to get buried on the card. They're not going to be successful. And it's the same deal that they're trying to do with talk radio, with conservative viewpoints.
Which is what we do.
It
hits really close to home.
Yeah.
Because me being able to get on this radio show and give my opinions freely to whoever freely wants to listen, that's an important part of the American culture. That should be protected. It's a constitutional right.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at this new picture that was put up on Twitter now of Michael Brown with a bottle of vodka, a bottle of Hawaiian Punch Kool-Aid, a gun, and money in his mouth. And it looks like the guy behind him smoking weed.
Wow.
So, yeah, great upstanding gentle giant there, right?
Yeah. Unbelievable. Now, we also did want to approach the Joan Rivers situation from the other side of it because conspiracy theorists are running rampant. And I do have to say, it is very, very weird Once again, I mean, all of these things, and maybe it's because when a celebrity dies, maybe it's because there's all that aura around it, and the fact that they are on top of a pedestal a lot of times, and there's a lot of media of attention to it. Maybe that's why it seems like there's conspiracies behind it and people always jump on that bandwagon. That could be it. Maybe it's a social effect. I don't know. But what I know is 2 months ago, Joan Rivers was talking about Michelle Obama. We played it just before the break. She came out and said that she was a transgender. We all know, quote unquote, that's what she said. Now, here at the Weekend Sit and Spin, we have detailed on this show how we believe that to be true. I continue to believe that to be true, and you can go look it up for yourself, okay? I'm not saying that as a joke. I'm not on here saying that because I want to make fun of somebody, okay, looking masculine. I'm saying that because there's real evidence that you can go look at for yourself, pay attention to it, and wake up and understand that the entire Obama administration is a fraud. Mm-hmm. So why would this be so hard to believe is my question.
And let me make this comment, too. I'm going to get a quick plug in here. This Thursday, September 11th, I'll be performing at Corey's Grilled Cheese on James Island. Come out, see me, do some stand-up comedy, a lot of other funny people on the bill. Should be a good show, but of course, it will be September 11th. It's also my 3-year anniversary of doing comedy. That started September 9th, 2011, so I'm celebrating that this week. A lot of big things coming up, but a quick plug for that show. Do want to also say this about the September 11th thing and the official narrative we're supposed to believe is, this will be shoved down our throats with the patriotism and everything all over this week. But we're supposed to believe that 19 hijackers in a cave in Afghanistan were able to get NORAD to stand down. Mm-hmm. That's the official story, correct? Because NORAD ordered a stand down. If this wasn't ran or at least known about by the government or ran by CIA, how would NORAD have stood down?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
But am I supposed to believe what NORAD tells me to begin with? These are the same people that every December 24th assure me that Santa Claus is coming and track him across the country.
They do that now on Google.
NORAD's done that since I was a kid. You saw it on the news. They would always do that. Oh, NORAD's reporting Santa's coming across Pennsylvania.
That's crazy.
Should we really believe them? That's all I'm saying. They're comfortable lying to us about that.
And for new listeners out there, I know we have a couple in particular. There was a stand-down issued on 9/11. In fact, there was a lot of drills going on that day.
Oh, you've got people at air traffic controllers saying, is this live or is this a drill? Is this part of the drill? Same deal with Sandy Hook. Is this a drill? You always see this with these government-sponsored, government-ran false flag events. They do a drill at the time so that way if something goes AWOL, the Boston bombing is another situation where there was a drill going. All of the marathon runners were seeing bomb detection dogs. They were seeing snipers on the buildings. What's going on? Oh, we're doing a drill. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, boom, something goes live during the drill? Come on.
Yeah, there was an article that came out this week, My Fox Philly, just to kind of highlight what we're talking about here. 2 U.S. fighter jets are escorting an unresponsive small aircraft over the Atlantic Ocean.
That was yesterday.
Officials said. This came out yesterday. The U.S. Northern Command tweeted at 12:46 p.m. that the unresponsive aircraft took off from this morning from Rochester, New York, with flight planned to Naples, Florida. Officials from NORAD say they suspect hypoxia or a deprivation of oxygen may be the possible cause. Plane is a Sokota TBM 700. This is a light business and utility aircraft, very small. Occupants unresponsive. Officials updated at 1:04 p.m. So they scrambled the jets, Drew. They updated at 1:04. The call came in at 12:46. If I'm not mistaken, and my math isn't wrong, that is, 20 minutes. 18. 14 minutes plus 4. So there's 18 minutes there. The fighter jets were scrambled and reported on the plane that they were escorting down. On 9/11, you had a call come in, and hours later or something, that any fighter jets were ever put in the air. There was nothing in the air. They knew the commercial planes were coming in.
Well, yeah.
You've got all the radio chatter.
There's been national security advisors and things that were with Cheney that says that he kept being reported to. The plane is 50 miles out. The plane is 30 miles out. The plane is 20 miles out. Do the orders still stand? Yes, they still stand. You can look that up. He testified before Congress. His testimony was left out of the official 9/11 commission, but you can see the videos of him testifying on C-SPAN before Congress saying these things.
So there was a stand down that day on 9/11.
Clear stand down. You don't get buildings falling faster than free fall speed off of being hit by airplanes and being on fire. That's never seen. We've never seen a skyscraper implode on faster than free fall speeds from a fire. That doesn't happen.
The thing is, that's all just extra information, because the fact of the matter is, you cannot melt steel because of diesel fuel or because of gasoline burning. Okay? It's physically impossible. The melting point of steel and titanium is higher than the heat released from fuel being burned. It's physically impossible. It doesn't even matter.
No, yeah.
It's physically impossible. There was molten steel found 2 weeks later. That's impossible.
Exactly. There were cars that melted down the street from it.
Yes.
Blocks away, cars melted. There's definite evidence. I'm a big believer in Judy Wood's theories of directed kinetic energy weapons, Tesla-type weapons being used, just because you don't have the debris footprint from these buildings.
No, but you do have the steel columns being cut at an angle, which is exactly what happens in pre-planned demolitions and controlled demolitions. They cut the steel columns at angles.
But how do you have a debris footprint from two 112-story buildings, and the debris that's left is less than what was left when they imploded the Supersonic Stadium up in Seattle?
I mean,
you can look at that. The debris is less from 212-story buildings than it is from one sports stadium.
Well, what the heck happened to the plane that went into the Pentagon? It's not there.
There's no engines. There's nothing. Yeah.
There's no plane.
And there's no in Washington, D.C., which is basically London with cameras everywhere. It was in 2001 the most remotely viewed city in America with cameras everywhere. You can't get a shot of a plane coming in.
Oh, they can.
No video footage of it?
The Pentagon has those videos from the hotel and the gas station.
You have one video of a fireball. That's all you have.
That's all they'll release.
Yeah.
There's 5 frames they've released. There's videos that they confiscated from the hotel adjacent and the gas station across the street from the Pentagon. And they will not release them to this day.
And this week I suggest watching Loose Change, there's several great documentaries on it. The Judy Wood one is one of my favorites, where it gets into the directed energy weapons and where did the buildings go, the dustification of it. Great work there. But Loose Change, I mean, you've got so many great videos. You can look at the two specials that Jesse Ventura did on conspiracy theory with both the Twin Towers and the Pentagon and that type of stuff.
Definitely check it out.
Where's the plane from Shanksville? It supposedly fell into a mine shaft?
That's crazy.
Look, I mean, what did it do? Did it go down and past the little rock statue with the 3 glowing eye stones from Temple of Doom, and did it fall in that crevice that separated the people from the crazy priest guy ripping out hearts? I mean, did it fall into that crevice of lava?
That must be where it's at.
Is it buried in magma?
That's where it's at. I mean, that's the point, ladies and gentlemen. You can't believe the official story because it isn't physically possible what they claim. And yet...
it doesn't make sense.
Now, with all of that in mind, it has gotten very difficult for me to believe the official narratives when, someone like Joan Rivers, who just a few weeks ago was calling the First Lady a transgender, is now dead from a botched surgery. I mean, I don't know. To me, it's strange. It's very strange. However, I try not to jump on these conspiracy theory bandwagons. Now, I know you have a video. Let's cue that up and let us send ourselves into break with that. We've got more news to get back to when we come.
This is a Mark Dice video talking about the conspiracy claims that Joan Rivers was murdered by Beyonce.
That's right. So
Illuminati sacrifice.
We'll listen to this and take a break when we get back. Amnesty after elections and the IRS losing more emails, and also more to come on the weekend sit and spin. Take a listen.
They should have put the emails on the cloud.
Mark Dice. Joan Rivers.
As a celebrity sacrifice on Beyonce's birthday. Joan Rivers died at the age of 81. Beyonce was born in 1981. The mentally ill moron see some kind of connection. Beyonce turned 33 on the day that Joan Rivers died, who happened to have been born in 1933. The number of the Ascension in Freemasonry. Every time a celebrity dies, a bunch of mentally ill morons, I mean like hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of them, just believe that the Illuminati sacrificed them This time, they're not only blaming Beyonce for having her sacrificed on her birthday, on her 33rd birthday, but they blamed the Illuminati because Joan Rivers exposed Obama as being gay and Michelle as a transsexual. Of course, the mentally ill just can't understand that people who are 81 years old just happen to pass away. But if you're not familiar with this strange Illuminati celebrity sacrifice phenomenon, I mean, literally millions of morons blame the Illuminati for every single celebrity's death, no matter what they died from. Car accident, drug overdose, suicide, old age, etc. This time, the mentally ill see a connection because Beyonce turned 33. Joan was born in 1933, etc., etc. Joan Rivers, her final celebrity target was Beyonce, or Beyonce's sister, some kind of Illuminati connection. Not to mention, Joan Rivers was in the Family Guy. It's another Illuminati Family Guy clue. If you're not familiar with this, a bunch of brain-dead people believe that the Family Guy cartoon has predicted the future celebrity sacrifices. Just a bunch of shameful morons. You know, historians are going to look back at the fall of America and realize that America just crumbled from within. You know, the brain-dead, degenerate public just starting blaming Beyonce and the Illuminati sacrifice and Illuminati secret society for all their problems. It's no wonder this country is doomed. And what's extremely sad about this is that these are the people who think that they're on the cutting edge of the truth. They're the ones who are awake. You're just asleep. You're blind to the truth. The Illuminati sacrificed Joan Rivers as a celebration for Beyonce's 33rd birthday, 33, the Masonic number of Ascension, Illuminati favorite number, and to get rid of her for criticizing Beyonce's sister and exposing Obama as being gay and Michelle's a transsexual. It's just absolutely shameful. A bunch of just crazy people. And by the way, if you check my previous video on this, a bunch of morons are like, yeah, nobody's saying that the Illuminati sacrificed her. I'm sorry, I've been watching Twitter from the moment that she died. It's just countless people. It's just shameful. Shameful, shameful. Oh, never mind.
Thanks for tuning in to KineticHiFi.com. Stay tuned in. Thanks.
For America's wounded warriors, sometimes coming home can be a battle in itself. Every one of them needs our support to meet the challenges they face every day. The USO provides Americans a way to offer that support to our wounded warriors and their families. Join us. Visit USO.org to learn how you can make a difference in their lives. The USO, until everyone comes home.
Hi, this is Bob Charles, the host of The Bob Charles Show. I very rarely endorse anything, but this service deserves my attention. Atlantic Repair LLC is the only credit restoration company that is actually headquartered here in Charleston, South Carolina. Unlike other companies that overcharge you because a middleman gets paid and then your credit report goes to Poland packed in sauerkraut. This company is here to help all of us and our credit problems like low scores, collections, judgments, inquiries, and a bunch of more bad stuff. Call Atlantic Repair LLC at 888-957-1118. They are the one company in South Carolina that charges 50% less than any other service on the planet, and no monthly fees either. They work till they are done. They get my vote. Now it's your turn. Call 888-957-1118 or go to www.atlanticrepairllc.com and follow the directions on page 1. They care for you.
Hi, this is Eddie Floyd of the International News Show, AM News. I want to tell you about the Wainema Ranch. As a matter of fact, I'm going to invite you to visit Wainema Ranch for one reason. You can visit them online right now and help out where you can with our American heritage, the wild horses and burros at the Wainema Ranch. It is right here north of Reno, Nevada. That's WaiNemaRanch.com, WYNEMA Ranch.com. Get involved. Visit us today and see why I say my wife runs the ranch and I run my mouth.
Yeah, that's right. It's what happens when you cross bad with good. You're listening to KineticHiFi.com. It's Bud.
Though his mind is not for rent, don't put him down as arrogant. His reserve a quiet defense, writing out the day's events.
Well, I guess I'll continue to highlight the failures of the Obamas. Welcome back. This is the Weekend Sit and Spin. I'm Nick O'Kelly, Drew Howard. You know, we don't do this to be downers. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I want to promote the truth because the mainstream media doesn't give you this information and that's why we go over a lot of this stuff in detail. Because it's important that the American people understand what's really going on in Washington. The fact that it is really just a lot of dirty dealing happening here. You know, corrupt, dirty deals being made between countries to further police states and gather more profit to the elite. EAGnews.org reporting this morning. We'll start with her or him, whatever way you want to go there. Illinois' second largest district drops Michelle Obama's menu after hummus is deemed too fatty.
Yeah, pretzels are deemed too salty. Even hard-boiled eggs take a shot here. So.
You know, I remember a time when hard-boiled eggs were promoted as something relatively, like, if you're on a diet, you're eating hard-boiled eggs, right?
Well, I mean, if she wants to spruce up school lunch, why doesn't she just take the Subway approach? Put avocado on it.
Exactly.
You know, they're making a huge deal. They've been selling the same Italian BMT for 25 years. You put a slice of avocado on it, it's a brand new sandwich.
Brand new sandwich, and it's healthy. It's green.
You know, I bet Michael Phelps is mad about that one. Because you know he's sitting there thinking to himself, when I was training in Colombia between bong rips, I was putting guacamole on everything. I was doing that first. Where's my money, Subway?
Oh, I see. You want to use a city walk to go ahead and... No. Inside of Chicago, hummus is too fatty. Pretzels are too salty. Even hard-boiled eggs and yogurt don't make the cut. Those restrictions and others imposed on schools through the revamped Healthier National School Lunch Program convinced officials in Illinois' second-largest school district to forfeit nearly $1 million in federal lunch aid to serve students food they want to eat rather than what the government tells them to. See, you know, the other part of that is, Drew, what really just burns me up on the inside is when you hear a statement like that they are, this school system is rejecting $1 million from the federal government. That's taxpayer money. The federal government can't afford to give that aid.
It's not taxpayer money, though. That's the biggest falsity out there. That's the biggest scam.
It's a derivative,
It's fiat currency that they just print more, and they don't even print it anymore. They put numbers in an account and push send. It's complete fiat. When they're saying that it's taxpayer money, that's what they're taking from us. No, the money they're taking from us, they completely waste on other crap that we don't need. They push that for treadmills for shrimp, and things like that. And even that's not the money they take from us. This whole scam in the taxpayer system and the IRS and the going back to 1913 with the founding of the Federal Reserve is all a fiat scam. We have nothing anymore. Our money is valueless. There's no tangible wealth out there in anything we've created. And as we push to a virtual society, as we push to an online world living in the cloud, that's what it is. We have our heads in the clouds. That's what you have to do to believe that any of this is secure or real. You have to have your heads in the cloud. That's why it's called the cloud.
Well, that's really the point here, though, is that and I'll detail it really quickly, they flip it around. Like, the school system is the bad person.
Oh, exactly.
But my point is that the federal government shouldn't even be giving out that money. To quickly, once again, I know of a few particular new listeners, so I want to detail this really, really quickly. The government gets money loaned from the Federal Reserve in exchange for bonds to the Federal Reserve that they can then sell back to other countries and so forth. So when the government gets cash from the Federal Reserve, it immediately has a tax associated with it. It's already in debt.
It's already on interest, yeah. And the only reason they're loaned that is because each and every one of us American citizens are put into a bond on the stock market.
That's right.
We all have an ID number. It's on our birth certificates. It's a INS federal ID number for that because we're all lumped together in these giant bonds that then they trade on the stock market.
That's exactly right. The problem is the IRS, first of all, is unconstitutional. There is no law. This is very interesting. Go watch the Zeitgeist movie because it really details this. A lot of people don't understand the fact that your tax return is unconstitutional. There is no law requiring a federal income tax.
No, and we talk about this all the time on here, and we quote this. Thomas Jefferson said a central bank issuing currency is more dangerous to liberty than a standing army.
The reason that they have put the IRS system in place is to make sure the interest payments on the money that has been loaned from the Federal Reserve is always in place. They collect your taxes to pay interest on money. They never pay the debt. They pay the interest payments so that they can continue to expand the debt. And that's why the Federal Reserve System destroyed Europe. That's why our founding fathers came over here, too, because they wanted to get away not just from it wasn't just religious freedom that they were looking for. They also understood that they were enslaved to the overall British monetary system. Okay? And that's what we've allowed to come back into the U.S. under the Federal Reserve Act. Americans just don't understand it. They don't realize it. They don't understand what's going on. We're not on the gold standard anymore. Your dollars don't mean jack. Okay, that's why when the stock market crashed, everybody lost a bunch of money because it's not based on anything.
And that's the fear with the BRICS system, with these BRICS countries. And the only thing the dollar has going for it now is it's the reserve currency for the world. Everybody else uses it to back up their fiat currencies.
That's right.
All these banana republics are using the dollar to back them up. Once they lose that, which is what BRICS is pushing for, and it's now up to, 34 or 40 countries, I think, that are on board?
Something like that.
We still only have the Brazil, South America, India, China, those ones for it. But it's growing. It's up to like 30 countries. We can't get an acronym now for all of them.
And that's why I was talking last week about the ghost cities in China. It was very interesting reading that article because China has bought a lot of these bonds from the Federal Reserve that have been exchanged for dollars. So they own a lot of the debt. However, if the dollar collapses, those bonds are going to collapse too. And that will implode the Chinese economy because, like you said, they're backing up their own fiat currency with those bonds. But once that crashes, their economy goes in the crapper. Okay? So we're all tied in together at this point. The world is all fluctuating on the same capacitor. And if it collapses, it's going to mean hell for everybody. So China's trying to stabilize themselves prematurely by setting in place these Agenda 21 cities that they can migrate their entire agricultural population into when the bonds crash. It's very scary, but it's also very real. It's the real game of life here that we're playing. And the government's just allowing the American people and governments around the world allowing their citizens to be used as collateral damage, basically. Because, they know when the crash is coming. That's why you see Warren Buffett putting on more put stocks.
Oh yeah, and again, it's not that I'm trying to say that Putin's so great here and trying to deify Russia, but at the same time, out there, one of the few out there that's saying, hey, the dollar's getting ready to crash. We need another system. We need to back this up. Obama's running around saying there's nothing wrong. It's just media. It's all these internet trolls. They don't know what they're talking about. There's nothing wrong going on out here. The world's great. Everything is awesome. That's what Obama comes out and tells us. And, Putin saying, no, there are real problems here. And again, it's a straight shooter. Who's going to tell us the truth?
That's right.
And what we're getting is we're not getting truth from our elected officials. We're getting truth from the people who, for years, we were told were our enemies. The fact is Russia's been through it. Yes, they're a corrupt system. Yes, they're very corrupt with cronyism over there. But they've been through the hell of communism. They've seen that it's a lot worse. And they see us going down the road that they went through in the early 1900s.
Absolutely. We're over here dealing with... But Drew, none of that matters. Because the most consequential thing happening to our society right now is climate change and It's very obvious to me that all of this other stuff, this wargaming and geopolitical stuff, is just too much for me to understand.
If Bob Costas can't take the guns, by God, he's taking the Redskins' name away.
And he is. It amazes me that Bob Costas has basically given himself to the charge of making sure that the Washington Redskins change their name.
Remember 2 years ago, it was we got to get guns away, gun control, guns are bad.
Yeah. I want to close up this topic real quick. Victor Skinner is the one that was reporting on EAG News. Quote, so far so good. The meals, as you've seen, look fantastic, and there's a lot of excitement. District 214 Associate Superintendent Kathy Johnson told the news station the federal Healthier School Lunch overhaul championed by Michelle Obama has been a boondoggle for public schools across the country. The tightened restrictions intended to combat childhood obesity have driven more than 1 million students away from school lunches and created over $1 billion per year in food waste since they were implemented in 2012. In 2 years, they've racked up $1 billion in food waste.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
And this is nationwide. I've got Jacksonville, Florida. 6-1 to allow junk food and bake sales. They're backing away from this, and one of the board members says that Feds should worry more about Marine detained in Mexico, not school bake sales.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to be honest. When I went to when I was in high school, I never went. You had the pizza and fries line, you had the snack line where you could get like the microwavable pizza, the chicken sandwiches, but then you also had the home cook line where you could get salad and meatloaf or spaghetti or pasta or whatever, and vegetables and fruit. I always got the home cook line. It was like $2.50. I'd get a salad, spaghetti, fruit, green beans, or some kind of vegetable, a piece of bread, and some milk. That's a good lunch. I was always full. It tasted good. I enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. That's why I got it every day, because it was better than the sandwich I'd get from home or whatever. That was healthy. They've turned in now, and it says it right here, the drastic drop-off. Hold on, where did I see this? Oh, here we go. Crispy falafel with flatbread and rice pilaf with pasta primavera with roasted vegetables and olive oil. 2 new menu items in District 214's lineup, that's in Chicago, would have violated the federal regulations because of low protein content, for example. So falafel, flatbread, and rice, pasta primavera, and roasted vegetables are not healthy enough, Drew. But those pictures of the chicken sandwich and apple slices, or the hot dog and whatever the 3 pieces of corn kernels that we see coming out of the tweets and kids tweeting their lunch pictures, that's become a movement. It's so bad. And now, I'm sure there's some exaggeration going into that as well. I mean, you can't necessarily always think that they're that bad. But point is, the kids don't like it. And kids are picky eaters. So I don't know. It just, again, you have a situation where we see after 2 years the amount of money that's been wasted. And Michelle Obama is still up there pushing it like, if this doesn't happen, we're just all going to, I don't know. It's just unbelievable that there's real problems in this country and we're spending millions and millions of dollars on nothing. Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. We got a new InfoWars poll here that's pretty interesting. How long before Obama attacks ISIS in Syria? The choices were 1 week, 2 weeks, a month, or never. 60% of the respondents say never.
Well, Drew, I saw something else out of InfoWars, and we can kind of, like I said, the Obama failures. I think that's one of the things I wanted to highlight today, and we've got some more amnesty talk to go to, the IRS situation, but I want to bring this up too, as we're about to get another break, but we'll detail this for a minute here. Rubio says Obama already has the authority to strike ISIS in Syria. Very interesting. From The Hill, Mario Trujillo reported this. Senator Marco Rubio says President Obama does not need authorization from Congress to launch airstrikes in Syria against the terrorist group that beheaded 2 American journalists. Rubio said the president should expand U.S. airstrikes to Syria to, quote, degrade and defeat the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, which he said poses an immediate threat. Quote, just as the U.S. has conducted operations against terrorists elsewhere, there is no legal reason preventing you from targeting ISIL in Syria, Rubio wrote in a letter sent to the president Friday using an alternative acronym for the group. Rubio's position is at odds with Senator Rand Paul. Now, I'm not in favor of going forward with these attacks, but it's just interesting to me that you have these senators who were, like Lindsey Graham last year telling us that if we didn't bomb Syria, we would have attacks on this country. And now those same senators are saying, Obama, you can attack ISIS at any time. And Obama yet has no plan. So it's like there's chaos even within the own ranks. You know what I'm saying?
Nick, does he look like a guy with a plan?
But how confusing does this get? You've got Marco Rubio, the poster child of
Amnesty International.
Amnesty International, telling Obama he can bomb ISIS at any time. Obama says he doesn't have a response ready. He is ready to give executive amnesty to 8 million people, but he has no plan to combat ISIS as the borders are wide open and they're coming in droves. I don't know. I'm getting confused by the whole thing, to be honest with you.
Do I really look like a guy with a plan?
No, I don't think he has one. He has no plan.
Yeah, he does, Nick. His plan's to come on TV and say, hey, Monday Night Football is starting this week. So be sure to watch that.
He does have a plan for that.
And by the way, after Monday Night Football is Tuesday, which means it's Taco
Free
Tuesday.
tacos. Who wants a free taco? But that really is the situation that we are in, and I just, it's amazing to me.
Oh my gosh, I love this song.
Everything is awesome. Obama continues to drag us along with his amnesty decision. It's almost like it's like his version of The Decision with LeBron James. I can't believe ESPN is not bringing him up on stage to give his amnesty decision.
Well, I wonder how long they're going to keep running his brackets and everything after he's out of office. Is he going to become a commentator on
Oh,
there?
he definitely will. Come on.
There you go. That's $37.
Awesome. I've decided to take my talents to El Paso and give amnesty to 8 million illegal immigrants. That's what he's going to say.
Honestly, I think some of these illegal immigrants would have it better off staying in their own countries. I got a story here out of InfoWars. Guatemala defies Monsanto law pushed by U.S. as part of trade agreement. A new trade agreement is supposed to go in place at the end of the month here, but the Constitutional Court has suspended that after the indigenous and peasant movement of Guatemalan Union filed a lawsuit basically saying Monsanto is going to kill our country. We don't want it. We don't want their seeds. We don't want their poison. Get these GMO toxins out of here.
Well, this is what's going to happen. All of these countries that are poor are getting rid of their drugs that they can't afford, sending them up here so that they can revamp their own societies.
Yeah, but you're coming here and you're being shoved Monsanto GMO food. You're being told to go to McDonald's all the time. Hispanics are one of the most obese groups we have in our society now.
Oh, yeah. Because they come up here having never eaten this kind of stuff. Their bodies... I mean, Americans are obviously obese, but we've also kind of built up an immunity to some extent, I think, to a lot of these chemicals because they've been fed, especially my generation. I mean, McDonald's was very prevalent when I was growing up, man. I mean, there's a lot of people that I have grown up around who have basically eaten that their entire life. You build up an immunity to some extent to that. Okay, but you got to imagine coming from a country where it doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's like we have, the job I work at, we have people from Europe come in a lot. And over in Europe, you do have McDonald's and, Burger King, but that's about it. There's really nothing else besides that, and it's not extremely prevalent. It's more, in fact, the food, I went over there, and the food that they have there is better than the ones here, to be very honest. It's not quite as, it's not the same thing as what you have here. Let's just put it that way. So they're not used to that. They have real food. They eat at home. They have, farms that aren't genetically modified and sprayed with chemicals and toxins and this kind of thing. So they come over here and eat it, and they love it, and they think it's great, but they eat it for a day or two, and they go back home. You come over here and live, and they gain a bunch of weight because all of a sudden the only thing available to us over here, and I don't even think we realize it, Drew, But basically, the only thing that's available to us over here is genetically modified food.
Oh, absolutely.
Fast food.
Walk through the grocery stores, and outside of the produce aisles, very, very little bit throughout the rest of the store. Most everything else is going to be prepackaged GMO laden crap. You're going to see a lot of soy. You're going to see a lot of corn in it. And
It's all owned by the same companies, Coke and Pepsi.
Yeah.
They own our society. Listen, go to Wikipedia, all right, because it's a quick reference. Type in Coca-Cola or Pepsi Company and just look at how much they own.
Well, not to mention that you're going to find out that Pepsi Company, their natural flavors that they put in there, natural flavor enhancers, are aborted fetal cells from aborted babies. That's what you're drinking when you drink a Pepsi.
It's on record.
So enjoy it.
We need to get to a
Have
break.
a Coke and a dead baby. It's actually not Coke. They don't put that in there, but still. It's Pepsi. But have a Pepsi and a dead baby because that's what you're drinking.
We need to get to a break. I want to get into some more of this amnesty stuff. We've been talking about it. When we get back, reports saying TV increasingly for the old, very interesting. I've been teasing this. I want to get to the IRS situation, losing more emails. NASA, an asteroid's going to pass very close to the Earth this Sunday. Very interesting. And some sci-tech news.
Well, that's what we know is coming next. Drawing a blank here with
Natural disaster.
No, yeah, but what's his name? The former German SS agent that became the head of the space program. And, I'm blanking out right now on that.
Well, you'll think about it on the break.
Yeah, but he said it's going to first be communism, then terrorism, then asteroids, then aliens. That's the plan.
There you go. That.
Von Braun, Werner von Braun.
Oh, yeah.
Was former
Werner von
SS
Braun.
agent. Yeah, SS agent.
And then when we came to America, we were the Von Brauns. We're Back to the Future. We'll be right back. Why aren't gas prices lower? That's something else. We got a lot more to go over here for the last hour, the last segment of the second hour here. It's the Rush Hour of the Weekend. Sid and Spin, Nick O'Kelly, Drew Howard. We'll be right back.
Thank you for listening to KineticHiFi.com Community Radio. Hey, there's no shortage of folks out there who claim to be website designers, graphic artists. It seems like every day you hear about a new social media firm promising to optimize your website and social media visibility. What you may not know is that very few of these folks have the experience and talent necessary to fulfill their lofty promises. As a small business owner, you know every dollar spent needs to have an impact, and there's simply no better way to set your business up for success than to trust your online needs to Charleston's premier full production service, Advent Designs. Advent Designs has a history of success and customer satisfaction which is unmatched, and you can rest assured that your investment will see outstanding returns. Whether you need an intuitive new website, an eye-catching logo, a powerful new banner, or comprehensive social media campaign, Advent Designs is ready to help. Call Advent Designs today at 843-298-1619. That's 843-298-1619. Or visit the website at advent-designs.com. Advent Designs, the power of perfection.
At 164 King Street, find an oasis of calm, the Charleston Library Society, celebrating the written word, dedicated to enlightened thought within an atmosphere of gentility and learning. Established in 1748, it's the South's oldest cultural institution, and you're invited to visit. Come experience the elegant main reading room, our children's center, and join in to enjoy our speakers series, concerts, and other fine programs. Affordable membership is available now and always at the Charleston Library Society.
Kinetic Hi-Fi. I want to thank all the women for listening to KineticHiFi.com.
We love it!
I know you do, baby. I know you do.
Choose not to decide. You still have made a choice. You can choose from phantom fears and kindness that can kill. I will
Immigration court backlog now 400,000 cases.
And did you see they're setting them 4 years out? This is
Yeah.
such a farce with everything that's going on with this immigration deal. And they're being told, you get here, you're here to stay.
Yep. That's exactly why we see and I keep hearing it. It's almost comical. The mainstream media continuing to say that we don't understand how powerful word of mouth is in Central and South America. And so because Obama's gone there and advertised, well, of course he knew that. That's why he went down there and advertised it so that they would all flood up here, until Mexico decided to shut their border down, which was, like I said, it amazes me that they got as many as they needed and they shut the border right back down. No, but this is coming out of the AP. The backlog of pending deportation cases in federal immigration court has risen to nearly 400,000 amid a crush of tens of thousands of unaccompanied children and families caught crossing the Mexican border illegally this year. The Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse at Syracuse said in its last report that as of the end of July, 396,552 cases were pending in the Justice Department's 59 immigration courts. TRAC collects and studies a variety of federal prosecution records. The backlog has grown by more than 75,000 cases since the start of the budget year in October. That's unbelievable. The Executive Office for Immigration Review, the Justice Department agency that operates immigration courts, said Friday its records show a caseload of 391,243 pending cases as of July 31st. That's unbelievable. And, of course, like we've been saying all day, what we saw come out of the Daily Caller this past week was La Raza pushing Obama to fulfill his promise on amnesty and give it to 8 million illegals. And we have the videos and the pictures of them marching just in a huge line. It's like the Trail of Tears almost in Mexico with signs saying, give us our amnesty. You promised amnesty, 8 million, and this kind of thing. In the face of a White House backtrack on executive amnesty, National Council of La Raza spokeswoman Janet Margoya pressed Obama to fulfill his promise to approximately 6 million illegals, declaring that, quote, we're done waiting. We, as a community, expect him to fulfill his promises, she said. The president, in March, when we asked him to take administrative action, asked us to wait because there was still going to be a chance for some legislative action. And we waited then. And now there are some Senate Democrats who are asking us to wait again. We're done waiting. We've waited long enough. Every day that we wait, 1,100 lives are shattered as a result of deportation and separation. The time for waiting has come and gone. We really need to see action now. This is unbelievable. You would think these people lived in Florida. It's almost like we've lost sight of the fact that these are not citizens. They can't sit down there and make demands of the American president.
Exactly, but no, everybody's a citizen. Remember, Biden said that. Everybody's a citizen.
And Obama is going to do it and probably going to claim that because of the pressure. He had to do it because of pressure from La Raza.
What pressure? 62% of Americans don't want amnesty.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. There is no pressure on him from the American people who he's supposed to represent.
Yeah, that's on Breitbart right now. 62% don't want amnesty. Where did we find that article again? Just had it pulled up because I wanted to talk about it.
Well,
right here it is.
Go ahead.
It's Carolyn May article out of Breitbart right now. 62% of likely voters oppose executive amnesty. And we are having a monsoon in Charleston. It's starting to mess with our internet, I think.
Well, like I said,
very heavy rains. Crosstown's probably flooded, which we want to get into a story about the Crosstown later on. So maybe it's washing away some crap off the Crosstown.
Hopefully. No, but this is what we're dealing with, though, coming from the people that are being allowed into this country. You see a situation exclusive out of Breitbart. Previously deported aliens kidnapped American teen for extortion on U.S. soil. That's out of Lubbock, Texas.
That's quality, upstanding citizens right there, kidnapping.
Yeah, why not?
Look, every illegal that gets caught drunk driving gets released. You can kill somebody. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
How many of these illegals that have been released have homicides on their record? We've seen that. We've talked about that repeatedly.
Absolutely.
And this one's out according to a new Rasmussen Reports national telephone survey released this week. 62% of likely voters oppose the president taking unilateral action to provide illegal immigrants with amnesty. A mere 26% approve of amnesty without congressional approval, and 12% were undecided. 55% thinks that if Obama does act, that Congress should take him to court. 30% don't think that he should be taken to court, and 14% don't know. So it's really like a South Park poll here. You know, like with the Chef Goes Nanners episode where they wanted to change the South Park flag.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I see how the flag could be racist, but it's also history.
Yeah.
Well, the flag's history, but it's racist. And yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
That's what it's turned into. We're so politically correct out here now that we can't take a stand on anything.
You know, but this is the kind of stuff we see coming out of these people. I mean, look at this one, KHOU.com. It came out this morning. Truck loaded with undocumented immigrants chased into Bexar County. That's
For
from
over
San
100
Antonio.
miles.
Yeah, 5 people are on the run, and 11 people are in custody after a high-speed chase that stretched over 100 miles, ended in San Antonio early Friday morning. Once stopped, officers found an underage girl behind the wheel. It all started overnight in Encinial, Texas, just north of Laredo. Authorities said the pursuit began after U.S. Border Patrol agents attempted to stop a pickup truck that was believed to be carrying undocumented immigrants. Instead, the driver sped up to about 95 miles an hour and led agents through several counties all the way to the Alamo City. According to the sheriff's office, deputies who were assisting with the chase managed to box in the Ford F-150 on Interstate 35. And they said 5 people ran from the truck and were not located, so they've put out the canines. This is what we're talking about, Drew. I mean, we're bringing in people. We deport them. We bring them back in. They kidnap people. They murder people. They're on high-speed chases. And right now it's still relatively isolated to the border states. Just imagine once they really get a foothold in the rest of the country where they've all been shipped at this point, and we start seeing these type of stories popping up everywhere across the country. You know, eventually the American people are going to get tired of that. It's going to be like Fast and Furious where they just, you know, like the truck drivers decide to start shooting back, you know, instead of getting robbed all the time. We're going to have a real civil crisis on our hands.
And that's what they want. That's why they're pushing the race baiting. That's why they want a racial-based civil war. And they want to stir up everybody. I don't know. There's a lot of thoughts out there. John B. Wells, I've been watching a lot of his Caravan to Midnight podcast now that he left. It's Coast to Coast AM. Since he left that, I've been watching a lot of his podcasts. And he says that what it's really going to turn into is the gangsta boys and the country boys are going to come together here.
Yep.
And it's going to be real two-pronged. And that's what they don't want to happen. That's why they're trying to stir up Ferguson. That's why they're trying to stir up any kind of racial animosity, because they understand that this illegal immigration issue is galvanizing everybody. Red, blue, black, white. It doesn't matter. If you're American, this is galvanizing you because they see that it's coming here to take our jobs. I saw a report earlier in the week that all the gains in North Carolina since 2000, all the job gains, have went to illegal immigrants. And I know people that still live in North Carolina. You can't find a job in North Carolina. Now, the economy is horrible there as far as working. And they understand that this is the deal. And that's why I'm so sick and tired of the conservative movement, the patriot movement, the Tea Party movement here with this whole mentality of, well, they voted for Obama, so they get what they deserve now. You saw this after Ferguson with that whole look. No, this is the time when we need to reach out and say, hey, you got swindled. You know, yes, we warned you. You didn't listen to us, but come on back into the fold. We can fix this now.
That's right.
We need your numbers to help us here. We can fix this. You know, and I think about Joel Gilbert's new movie Utopia, where he goes to the Obama's going to pay my phone bill lady and talks to her and asks, has Obama paid her phone bill? And she talks about how Obama sold her out. You know, we see a lot of these. You can find community meetings and stuff from Chicago, from Baltimore, from New York, from Detroit, where they're sick and tired of the Obama administration selling them out. And yes, this needs to be a wake-up call to say, hey, don't look for handouts. Get off welfare. Start a job. Start a business. You know, work your way up. Quit sitting here, hand out welfare handouts, which even if you're working in fast food, claiming $15 an hour is a welfare handout. You don't deserve $15 an hour.
That's exactly right.
You know, if I went into a McDonald's and the shake machine worked and I got fast service and friendly service and I didn't have to repeat my order 4 times to the person standing in front of me because they have an attention span where they forget whatever they heard every 7 seconds, like they're the guy from 50 First Dates, you know, the one there that forgets himself every 7 seconds. That's what it's like talking to the average McDonald's worker. And you're telling me you want $15 an hour?
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. And like I said, that's really the idea, is that those jobs are not meant to be full-time jobs.
No, we're going to get into that after the break.
I mean, it really does burn me up. Yeah, let's save it. We'll get into it in the third hour. Also, amnesty after elections. And I want to go over how that's affecting the jobs continuing on that subject, because we do have new unemployment numbers that have come out that we want to go over. See, there needs to be a very large committee talking about solutions about all this. But because we can't have an open discussion, because they keep calling us conspiracy theorists and it's just dismissed, instead of having real debates and real discussions on how to solve these issues, we're fighting about who's black and who's red.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired of it. And we got the third hour next, so stick around, and we'll be right back. It's the Weekend Sit and Spin, KineticHiFi.com.
In the forest, and the creatures all have fled as the maples scream oppression, and the oaks just shake their heads.
Yo, this is Junior Reed, and when I'm in South Carolina, I stay tuned to Kinetic Hi-Fi for the best in music scene. So hear this. Gunshot a fire, bodies on the floor, cops on the block, kicking down the door, it's crazy. Whoa, it's crazy. Hey, stand your horn, being in the streets, it's all without a job. That's why no youths are for out there and a rob, it's crazy. Whoa, it's crazy. And don't forget, it's Kinetic Hi-Fi, man, scene.
At 164 King Street, find an oasis of calm, the Charleston Library Society, celebrating the written word, dedicated to enlightened thought within an atmosphere of gentility and learning. Established in 1748, it's the South's oldest cultural institution, and you're invited to visit. Come experience the elegant main reading room, our children's center, and join in to enjoy our speakers series, concerts, and other fine programs. Affordable membership is available now and always at the Charleston Library Society.
Your business not going right? Don't know how to advertise? Come holler at your boys right here at Signs to See. We specialize in all your advertising needs. You need t-shirts, business cards, signs, banners. We got it all. Car magnets, decals, flyers. We got it all for you right here at Signs to See. Conveniently located at 937 Wapo Road, Suite 2B. You can also call us at 843-608-0722. You got a family reunion, you got a class reunion, and don't know how to get your t-shirts done? Well, call Signs to See. Signs to See is conveniently located at 937 Wapo Road, Suite 2B. Also, you can call us 843-608-0722. Or you can log on, SignsToSee.com. And I do all my business with Signs to See.
Yeah, that's right. It's what happens when you cross bad with good. You're listening to KineticHiFi.com. It's good.
Thank you for listening to KineticHiFi.com Community Radio.
Right, I'm the enemy. I'm the hit, I'm gonna take you down and you to your knees. So who are you? Yeah, who are you? Yeah, who are
Welcome back. The Weekend Sit and Spin. White House says Obama to delay immigration action. We talked about this at the start of the show, and it's come out during the show here on Drudge Report that you said it at the very beginning, that if he was to go ahead and pass amnesty, you'd have a situation where Americans would get very upset and the Democrats would not be able to get back in office, which would be counterintuitive for their agenda. So they want to wait till after the midterms, while the public is still brainwashed enough to think that the Democrats really are just being progressive. It says out of Washington, abandoning his pledge to act by the end of summer, Obama has decided to delay any executive action on immigration until after the November congressional elections. The move instantly infuriated immigration advocates while offering to relieve some of the vulnerable Democrats in tough Senate re-election contests. Two White House officials said Obama concluded that circumventing Congress through executive actions on immigration during the campaign would politicize the issue and hurt future efforts to pass a broad overhaul. The officials, who spoke on the condition of anonymity, of course, to discuss the president's decision before it was announced, said Obama made his decision Friday as he returned to Washington from a NATO summit in Wales. They said Obama called a few allies from Air Force One to inform them of his decision and that the president made more calls from the White House on Saturday. They said Obama had no specific timeline to act, but that he still would take his executive steps before the end of the year. It's amazing to me how they are teasing this and dragging it on and dragging it on. You don't know when he's going to do it. The whole world is waiting to find out when he's going to make an unconstitutional move. Instead of it being about the fact that this executive amnesty is completely unconstitutional, we're focused on whether or not he's going to do it and when that's going to happen. You know, it's kind of like being worried about when Jesus is coming back rather than worried about waking people up for it and preparing the world and, you know, living for God and living a good life and trying to repair the world that we're living in. Everybody's just sitting around waiting for a trumpet. Now, here's the thing. I myself am a Christian. I believe in the Bible. Okay? I believe it's holy and infallible, even though there are a lot of questions about its origins and what exactly the meanings are and the interpretations of them. But the overall idea is I believe in God, and I believe that one day he's going to come back. What I don't believe is that we're going to be spared from all of this end-of-world tragedy. And, I mean, first of all, Armageddon hadn't started, okay? So we don't know how bad it's going to be before that starts. Okay, the things that are actually prophesied in the Bible. The temple hadn't even been built yet. So leading up to that, I think we're going to see real, actual issues on this planet. You know, real tyrannical socialist issues if we don't put a stop to this stuff. You know, Obama's acting unconstitutionally and nobody's doing anything. He's not getting in trouble. Eric Holder hasn't gotten in trouble for Fast and Furious. These people are being allowed to run rampant and aren't going to jail.
That's because it's racist to go after Eric Holder. I mean, his job would be so much easier if people weren't racist, but people just don't like Eric Holder because they're racist.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have we had to hear him say that?
I mean, obviously that's a big problem.
That's why Congress censored him, was because they were racist.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You know, we have to start holding these elected officials accountable for their war games and their actions that they're, you know, bored and basically starting civil wars and funding civil wars all across the planet. That's literally what we're in the business of right now. Funding civil wars. Look at it. It's all over the place. We've got, we're funding the one in the Ukraine with Russia. We're funding, and I call that a civil war because you got basically Russians living in the Ukraine, in the eastern part there. And I don't even want to get into all that because the thing is they are sending troops in, but they're sending them in to secure those pipelines. They're sending them in to secure the bases that they own in the Ukraine. Starting a war between Russia and NATO. Starting, funding the war on both sides of the situation in Gaza. Mm-hmm. Funding the war on both sides in the situation in Syria.
Well, that's the way to do it. I mean, it goes back to the wars in the middle 1800s there, the Crimea War with Britain and what the Rothschilds did. You know, they funded both sides of it, and then they gave false information saying that the Russians had won, so that way the British markets would tank, and they bought up all these stocks for cheap. By the time that it came out, the Britons actually won. Look at how the Rothschilds made their money and the swindling and the scams that they pulled there with the Bank of England.
Exactly.
To rip people off, and it's all Illuminati, and it's just, I'm so sick and tired of all this. And back to what you said about Eric Holder there, it's a nation of cowards and racists. We've got him on record here saying it. Let me find his actual quote here. This is a long video, so I don't know where it's going to be in here, but play a little bit of it at least, but of him saying
cannot truly understand America without understanding the historical experience of black people in this nation. Simply put, to get to the heart of this country, one must examine its racial soul. Though this nation has proudly thought of itself as
and maybe this is me being racist here. Maybe this is, but I was walking around the Battery last night downtown. Went up there. Normally I stay Waterfront Park area, but I decided I wanted to walk all the way up to the Battery and around the point. And as I was walking around there, I was looking at the houses. A lot of them are for sale there on the Battery now, which just really shocked me. But I was looking at those houses, and I was thinking, they're all 200, 300-year-old houses that were built with the start of the walled city of Charleston. They've survived the Civil War. They've survived hurricanes. You see all the pictures of the storm surge washing over the Battery there and everything when storms will come in. Those houses stood through that. But for a long time period with Charleston, we do have the history of slavery. We do have that. But I think back to the house servants that lived there and the views that they had looking out their windows at the Battery. And now they're $1 million+ views that they lived in. And,
exactly.
Is that wrong to think about? We're told it was all this horrible. We get pushed all this plantation culture from the Caribbean islands, which was horrible. It was death camps in the Caribbean islands if you were a slave down there, because there were shipments of new slaves coming in every day. They were cheap. But by the time they got up here to the colonies, there was more invested, and a lot of the slaves were treated more like family. In a lot of I was looking at the third, fourth-story windows, which would have been the quarters, for the housekeepers, things like that, and the views that they would have had out of their windows of the harbor, of Fort Sumter, of all that.
They were treated badly in terms of.
That was just a thought that hit me when I was looking at the house.
No. I agree, and I want to try to give an opinion, because the thing is, the homeowners, that owned the servants, okay, they were like family. They would talk down to them, but they didn't treat them physically. I mean, okay, you had the whippings and all that. There were things that happened, okay, that were very bad. Obviously, I don't promote slavery. But in general, I think the majority of it, they weren't treated as badly as maybe it's portrayed. And like you said, it really was a family situation. If you go, and that's why I hate the fact that they've banned this movie. But if you go watch Song of the South, it was the slaves that were raising the kids.
Exactly. And that's why the kids had the flip-over dolls with the black and the white.
Yeah, and
you can still see those at the market.
The kids were raised very well. I mean, they were taught good values. I mean, you look at them now, the TV's raising the kids. Now, Again, I don't promote slavery. I'm not saying it should have continued. But just to your point, it was not the kind of culture that you saw coming out of the British Isles and Africa and so forth. It was very different here in the South, in many cases, not all cases, but in many cases. I mean, Thomas Jefferson got with half of his slaves.
You had family units, though, still under that.
Yeah.
And yes, it does suck because there were split-ups of families and things like that, but you still had family units. Up until through the Civil Rights Movement in the 50s and 60s, you still had strong family units. And then they crushed that. That was what happened with the Civil Rights Movement. You don't need a family. Let the government take care of you.
They used that to get the black people on welfare.
And now you've got 80% of black births are out of wedlock. We got 66% of Native American births are out of wedlock. It's 50+ for Hispanic births now. We've got 52% of black pregnancies ending in abortion.
And that's the point. Okay, the Democrats switched to racial politics. They started with the blacks, and they've migrated into the gays and lesbians, and now the Mexicans.
And it's destroying business ownership. It's destroying
It's the same tactics every time with every group.
It really is.
Just done over and over and over again.
Let's get back to more of this Eric Holder video.
Ethnic melting pot. In things racial, we have always been, and we, I believe, continue to be, in too many ways, essentially a nation of cowards. Though race-related issues continue to occupy a significant portion of our political discussion, and though there remain many unresolved racial issues in this nation, we, average Americans, simply do not talk enough with each other about things racial. It is an issue
that's
that
crap.
we have never...
That's all we talk about.
Unless it becomes or especially in a case where it shouldn't be brought up. The Michael Brown situation again. They wanted to make that completely racist. Because, again, this is not the issue to galvanize over police brutality. Eric Gardner's the issue to galvanize over police brutality here.
That's right.
That one truly is a man that was doing nothing more than selling cigarettes, trying to make money on the street. And they choked him to death.
Yep.
He didn't attack the cops. He wasn't violent with the cops. In the videos that you see there that was shot, he wasn't even disrespectful to the cops with his language.
Have you seen the video of the guy who was walking by some cops? I'm not exactly sure what they were doing, but he started filming them because they were doing something to somebody's car. So he's just walking his dog. He's walking his dog. He sees them halfway down the block. He pulls out his phone and starts taking a video. You see the cops see him, charge the guy, put the guy in handcuffs, take his phone, and before they got to him, the guy put the dog in a car because he didn't want the cops to do anything to the dog. Well, the dog got loose and came back out and started barking at the cops. He wasn't doing anything to the cops at all. He was barking at them. That was it, because they were manhandling his owner. Okay? Literally manhandling his owner. The dog standing there barking, not attacking. The cop grabbed a taser and tasered the dog to death. Tasered him to death. And you can actually watch the video of the dog lying around, flopping around on the ground, getting
Sick
tasered.
cowards.
That's disgusting.
It is.
But that's, that is the culture that we're living in, that police can dominate you. The 1033 program has entitled them to dominate the American people.
Oh, yeah. I've got a Mikhail Thalen article out of Infowars.com right here of a Minnesota police chief that beheaded a 5-year-old boy's pet chicken with a shovel after a neighbor complained about the animal running through a neighborhood. He decapitated this boy's pet chicken.
And again, we talked about this at the beginning of the show. It's all coming full circle. They're giving grenade launchers to campus police now at universities. Campus police. They're not even real police.
Next, it'll be mall security guards.
Yeah. I mean, can you believe that?
Rent-a-cops are going to be getting armament.
What campus are they going to shoot a grenade on? They're going to be blowing up school classrooms.
It's going to be Kent State all over again. 4 dead in Ohio.
Unbelievable. All right, we got to get to our first break. I want to get to the IRS when we get back. Why aren't gas prices lower? Also, Minneapolis City Council starting to demand answers on these black helicopters that are still running drills in the Twin Cities.
And fake cell phone towers just to steal your data.
Yeah, it's all coming back around. Here's the thing. We've known this was here. We've been talking about the black boxes they've been putting in the cars. Now it is standard. So they can data mine everywhere you go, tax you by the mile. They want to keep you at home. That's what this push for the driverless cars is all coming from.
It's Agenda 21.
That's right.
A Google car ran over a dog the other week. I saw that. So
I did see that too.
Against Google.
Yeah, because it's on Google Maps. You can see it. That's crazy. You can go to Google Maps and along Street View, drive along and see the dog get hit.
Crazy.
All right, we'll be right back. It's the Weekend Sit and Spin. Stick around.
Soldiers and Nixon's coming, we're finally on our own. This summer I hear the drumming, oh daddy
talk shows. We got sunglasses. We got music. We got fake Rolexes. KineticHiFi.com. Keep it locked in, honey butter.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah, hey.
Hey, why is the computer so slow?
Internet connection?
It can't be the internet connection. We pay like $300 a month for that.
Holy chestnuts.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, I know.
Yeah.
So it must be. Let's look around here for a second.
All right.
Yeah. You know what?
What?
Where's this wire go?
That wire?
That wire.
I don't know. It looks new.
It does kind of look new, but then there's like 18 wires down there. Let's try plugging it in over here. What do you say?
No, not there. No, right here.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Are you sure, Tom?
Positive. Plug it in.
All right, let's try that out.
Okay.
Don't be that guy. Instead, put your trust in ITSimplified.com. Cloud computing, data center servers, network management, Web 2.0, SQL, scalable architectures, programming, tech infrastructure, security, and anything else you shouldn't bother trying to figure out. Call 843-376-1991. That's 843-376-1991. ITSimplified.com. That's IT-simplified.com. Solutions simplified.
What's going on? This is Jay Vibe. This is Jay Brown.
This is your girl Jennifer, aka Miss Keep It Pretty.
Make sure y'all check out Those to Watch Radio.
It's a banging show covering hip hop, people in the industry, anything that's popping, and people to watch.
Make sure you check us out every Saturday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Kinetic Hi-Fi. Don't miss it. Shit.
It's what happens when you cross saucy with awesome. That's right, you're listening to KineticHiFi.com, baby. It's awesome. Thanks for tuning in to KineticHiFi.com. Stay tuned in. Thanks. It's a fact. Nearly 80% of us will have back pain at some point in our lives. And for some of us, it can be debilitating. If you live in the Charleston, South Carolina area and have any kind of back issue, Peninsula Chiropractic is your answer. Peninsula Chiropractic has a reputation built on great customer service and the results most chiropractors can't deliver. One patient and local firefighter says, I have been a patient with Peninsula Chiropractic for nearly 10 years. Dr. Ty and Dr. Rob have treated me with the utmost skill, respect, and kindness as a person and a patient. I feel extremely confident with their skills and have recommended Peninsula Chiropractic to numerous people, not to mention the relaxed atmosphere and genuine caring staff that is Peninsula Chiropractic. Don't spend another day in pain. Call Peninsula Chiropractic today at 843-723-6475. That's 723-6475. Or visit the office, conveniently located within the Sergeant Jasper Building downtown at 310 Broad Street, number 2, Charleston, South Carolina.
I'm a liberated man. The rain, it hasn't fallen since the middle of July. And if it don't come soon, my crops will die. The bankman says he likes me, but there's nothing he can do. He tells me that he's coming, but the clouds are coming too. He ain't my friend, and I'll ride again.
I am an American Indian. My tribe is Cherokee. My forefathers loved this land.
And welcome back. I love this land too. It's a weekend sit span. You'll listen to Highwaymen here at KineticHiFi.com. Nico Kelly, Drew Howard. We do it every Saturday morning, by the way, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. for the weekend sit and spin every Saturday. And then the Sunday morning Freedom Spin, Sunday mornings, 9 to 1. Drew Howard Show, 9 to 11, 11 to 1, Sit and Spin Radio.
tell you, it's hard to cut this off.
Absolutely. I got a question for you, Drew. Why aren't gas prices lower? I think this is a important question to ask right now, because certainly we do see them going back up. It's Bob Adelman out of the New American that's reporting this, and I just think it's interesting. He says, with gasoline prices averaging, according to the AAA Motor Club, just $3.43 a gallon as of August 28th, Clifford Krause celebrated the, quote, new American oil bonanza in an article for the New York Times. Unfortunately, Krause is behind the times and only half right. He said, Bob Adelman says, quote, the new American oil bonanza is not new, nor is it confined to oil. The first economical natural gas shale fracture was completed in 1998 by George Mitchell's company, Mitchell Energy, using slick water fracturing. Since then, natural gas from shale has been the fastest-growing contributor to total primary energy in the United States, with crude oil extraction from shale right behind. Happily, Krause got the rest of it right when he noted that these are the lowest gasoline prices of any Labor Day weekend since 2010, and without the development of fracking and horizontal drilling, gasoline prices would probably be twice what they currently are. The combined oil production of the three largest oil fields in the U.S., Bakken, Eagle Ford, and Permian Basin, is nearly 4.5 million barrels per day, up from just 1 million barrels per day as recently as 2008. In July of that year, the average price per gallon of regular gasoline in the United States was $4.11. So with all of that increased production, why haven't gasoline prices dropped any further? Part of the answer is the turmoil in the Middle East, which has removed from world supply an estimated 2.8 million barrels a day. Part of the answer is the enormous increase in demand for energy across the planet. According to the Energy Information Agency and the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the world's gross domestic product has increased by more than 24% in the last 10 years, while energy supply has increased less than 5% in that same period. Put simply, the enormous increase in energy supply in the United States have not been enough to keep up with the world's demand for energy. And then there are federal and state excise taxes. On the federal level, they add 18.4 cents to each gallon of gas, while on the state level, they add between 30 and 70 cents per gallon, depending on the state. For example, Alaska's gasoline tax is 30.8 cents per gallon, while California is 71.3. The cheapest places to buy gas in the United States is South Carolina, Mississippi, Virginia, Louisiana, and Alabama, where gas is less than $3.20 a gallon. On the other end of the scale, in Alaska, gas is $4 a gallon, while gas in Hawaii is more than $4.28 a gallon. So basically, Drew, what we're seeing here, when you ask why the gas prices fluctuate they do, it has everything to do with federal tax. Putting more tax money onto the gasoline that they import here, even though we're making a very large portion of it here ourselves now through this fracturing. And I don't think they'll ever lower. I mean, the thing is, the federal government, again, we talk about why the federal government needs to make money now. They need to make money now to pay these interest payments to the Federal Reserve. So they look for more things to tax and more things to put tax on. It's like the Tea Party. You know, we're going to have a gas party here pretty soon where we pour all the gas in the Boston Harbor and tell the federal government we're not paying their taxes anymore on it. All right, so I just wanted to mention that. Also out of the AP, IRS says it has lost emails from 5 more employees.
Yeah. I wanted to say real quick, too, that there's a article out that I just saw where BP may be paying $18 billion back for that oil spill. So that's another reason why the gas prices are staying up.
Well, there you go.
But that's okay, Nick, because we got a video here from BP.
Hello, I'm Tony Hayward, President and CEO of BP. Our accidental drilling spill again in the Gulf is a tragedy that should have never happened. And to all those affected, I want to say, we are deeply sorry. We're sorry.
We're sorry.
We're sorry. We're sorry. Sorry.
It's like Obama, though, because he's skiing, he's golfing.
We're sorry.
In a field with flowers.
Sorry.
Sorry.
We're sorry.
Yeah, that's really what it is.
I'm deeply sorry. Sorry.
Well, there you go. That's about as much as they care. And the IRS, too. I mean, that's pretty much what they're saying. We're sorry we lost all these emails.
I'm telling you, put them on the cloud.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Jennifer Lawrence can't get rid of these nude photos because now they're on the cloud, but the IRS can get rid of emails. It says from Washington, the Internal Revenue Service has lost emails from 5 more employees who are part of congressional probes into the treatment of conservative groups that applied for tax-exempt status, the tax service disclosed on Friday. The IRS said in June that it could not locate an untold number of emails to and from Lois Lerner, who headed the IRS division that processes applications for tax-exempt status. The revelation has now set off a new round of investigations and congressional hearings on Friday. The IRS issued a report to Congress saying the agency also lost emails from 5 other employees related to the probe, including 2 agents who worked in a Cincinnati office pressing applications for tax-exempt status. The disclosure came on the same day the Senate Subcommittee on Investigations released competing reports on how the IRS handled applications from political groups during the 2010 and 2012 election. The Democratic report, released by Senator Carl Levin of Michigan, said both liberal and conservative groups were mistreated, revealing no political bias by the IRS. The Republican report, issued by John McCain of Arizona, said conservative groups were clearly treated worse. The IRS Inspector General set off a firestorm last year with an audit that said IRS agents singled out Tea Party and other conservative groups for inappropriate scrutiny when they applied for tax-exempt status. Lerner's lost emails prompted a new round of scrutiny by Congress, the Justice Department, the Inspector General, and at least 2 federal judges. The IRS blamed computer crashes. We know that. The IRS first told Congress in June that other employees involved in the probe also had computer problems. Quote, throughout this review, the IRS found no evidence that any IRS personnel deliberately destroyed any evidence, said the IRS statement. To the contrary, the computer issues identified appear to be the same sorts of issues routinely experienced by employees within the IRS and other government agencies and in the private sector. When Congress started investigating the IRS last year, the agency identified 82 employees who might have documented related to the inquiries. The IRS said 18 of those people had computer problems between September 2009 and February 2014. This is just unbelievable, and it just continues to grow and grow and grow. When are they going to get in trouble, Drew?
Well, they're not, because they've got the system gamed for them. It's rigged, so they're not going to get in trouble.
Mm-hmm. And they're completely unconstitutional. That was the biggest thing. Like I said, go watch Zeitgeist, the movie, because it really does detail how the IRS is completely unconstitutional. And there's just no law that even says we should have to do a tax return. You've got a lot of IRS employees, former IRS employees, now quitting and refusing to continue to work because they're saying that they realize now that what they're doing is unconstitutional and there's no answers. When they go ask questions from their supervisors and the people above them, they can't get any answers. They can't find out why they're being pushed to investigate into Tea Party members and Republicans and opposers of the Obama administration. It's unbelievable. I want to get into the unemployment numbers as well. As we're getting down now closer to the end of the episode here. We do it every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. for the weekend sit and spin. Record, it's coming out of CNS News. Record 92,269,000 not in labor force. Participation rates matches 36-year low. From CNS News, a record 92 million Americans and 16 and older did not participate in the labor force in August, as the labor force participation rate matched a 36-year low of 62.8%, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The labor force participation rate has been as low as 62.8% in 6 of the last 12 months, but prior to last October had not fallen that low since 1978. BLS employment statistics are based on the civilian non-institutional population, which consists of all people 16 or older who were not in the military or an institution such as a prison, mental hospital, or nursing home. In August, the civilian non-institutional population was 248,229,000, according to BLS. Of that 248 million, 155 million, or 62.8%, participated in the labor force, meaning that either they had a job or they actively sought one in the last 4 weeks. The 92 million who did not participate in the labor force are those in the civilian non-institutional population who did not have a job and did not actively seek one in the last 4 weeks. Because they did not seek a job, they did not count as unemployed. The 146 million people employed in the United States in August was up 16,000 from the 146 million who were employed in July. So those are some of the new numbers coming out. And the economy, of course, is just absolutely in shambles. We've detailed how the fiat currency is adding to that, and the fact that this illegal immigration swarm is also adding to that. You look at places like North Carolina, where all of the increase in job numbers have been illegal immigrants. And why that even makes sense, considering the word illegal comes before, precedes the term for the person themselves. It's illegal. I remember working for a company when I was in high school, unloaded trucks on a dock in high school, and they actually had immigration service come through and fire something like 80 employees that were all illegal at the time to clean it out because, they had started cracking down on legislation where you couldn't have illegals working for cheaper rates and so forth. So they actually had to go forward and fire 80 illegals. That was in North Carolina at the time, and I'm sitting here thinking, why have they even been hired? How can you be hired without the company realizing that you're not a documented citizen? And if that being the case, why would they put themselves through that risk? Nowadays, I don't even think you have to worry about it. It's promoted that you bring in illegals into your workforce because you can pay them cheaper. In fact, that's part of the legislation.
Yep, and that's Walmart's deal is we're going to pay you minimum wage and we're going to get you signed up on welfare. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's complete utter disgrace the way that these corporations have been allowed to get in bed with the government. And that's the problem is we really need to clean house, kick out the big money, kick out the big government, bust up some monopolies. We need trust busters in there.
That's right.
Instead of allowing monopolies to rise, allowing companies to buy up, like you're seeing with all the tech companies. And you get Google owning everything. This story's kind of caught my attention, Nick. And, it's a sad one for you guys. I do want to say Gene Simmons came out yesterday in an article with Esquire magazine and pronounced that rock is finally dead.
Yeah, well, we've known that.
He blames it on file sharing started predominantly by white, middle, and upper class young people who were native born and felt they were entitled to have something free because that's what they're used to. So again, he's going the Metallica route and blaming Napster for the decline in music. How about the fact that it's the mainstream media that's causing the decline in music? How about the fact that it's MTV? There's still great music out there. You can pick up one of the best rock albums I've heard in the last decade right now with Suburban Miss Welcome If Only. It's a great CD. I'm not just giving you a cheap plug because it's an intense record. It's actually a great CD. You can pick that up. You should get it.
It is very intense, though.
It is a very intense record, but it's not just a cheap plug there. But you can pick that up. There's other great music scene. Charleston has a great local music scene. Go over to the Fix.fm. Listen to it. They play awesome local bands. And we're not the only city that's like that. Austin has a great scene. Nashville has a great scene. There's great music. There's great talent out there. But the problem is you get MTV, you get the mainstream media, the lamestream media pushing Miley Virus and Uggy Azalea and crap, Katy Perry doing satanic rituals on the Grammys. They push that crap over actual talented musicians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And they push singles. The singles market is also what has destroyed bands because bands can't make money. I mean, the thing is, the record companies front all the money for tours and this kind of thing. They make the money back when you sell tickets and all that. When you only sell singles, bands had a full album because you have 15 songs, all worth $1 each to make money off of. Now you're selling $1 to a bunch of people. You're selling one song. Well, that's not enough. That's not enough to have any kind of business off.
There's always been the singles records. You think about the great B-sides and things like that.
Right, but people would still buy albums. You
still buy albums.
don't have people buying albums at all anymore. It doesn't happen. Albums are not getting sold.
You don't have record stores anymore. You don't have places to go buy it.
Right,
you
because
go
everything
to Walmart
is
or Target.
Right, everything's a single on iTunes.
Yeah.
It's all profited to big corporations once again.
This file sharing, though, that they all hide behind, you saw it with Metallica, you're seeing it with Kiss now, that's nothing new. They want to hide behind file sharing as this great evil to the music industry, but you always had mixtapes. You always had people making mixtapes for their friends, promoting new music you like that way. Metallica made their bones in the 80s and early 90s by promoting the mixtape scene.
Yep.
By putting out mixtapes for their fans to take home from concerts for free and things like that to give to other fans. That's how the. And if your music's good, people are going to come to your shows. I think about the inspirational words of the great band Moop in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a South Park reference. Christian Rockhard. Go back and watch it. Cartman loses his bet because he can only win an album in gold, frankincense, or myrrh.
Yeah, I mean, but that's really the issue. It's very sad to see what's happened in the music industry. I mean, it's been taken over by corporate fat cats. You know, mafia rule with Clear Channel, and all the profits are going to a very few people. Yep.
And they're all these twisted, satanic Illuminati scumbags like Iggy Azalea, like Miley Cyrus, like Beyonce, like Katy Perry.
And it's very sad. That's why you don't see a lot of new bands either, because companies no longer promote anything that's not a sure thing. Okay, they already know that Katy Perry is going to sell a lot of albums. That's why they keep promoting her. Okay, but they may not know that, you know, the local band out of Georgia that's killing it is going to sell a bunch of albums nationwide. So they don't put any money behind them.
Because they're not getting the push.
Right.
Tom, we're now entering the second day of the rock band Moop's refusal to play and the second day of absolutely no other news to report on. In a recent poll, we asked people if Moop's refusal to play would stop them from downloading music off the internet. 1% said yes, 2% said no, and 97% said, who the hell is Moop?
That's very true. Very, very true. All right. We're getting close to the end here. Before our break, just before the end of the show,
That's
to
right.
wrap it up.
We got to do our happy birthday to the New World Order. September 11th's coming up. New World Order Day. So before we wrap it up, we got to do that.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order. A world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
So there we go. That was September 1st, 1991. George H.W. Bush announcing the New World Order. So we want to say happy birthday to the New World Order.
There you go. Happy birthday. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to wrap it up when we get back. NASA says an asteroid will pass very close to the Earth. I thought that was our exit music there, so maybe we can bring that back up and go to break.
I was playing the... I'll get another song queued for break. Sorry, my bad on that one there.
All right, very good.
That was the New World Order theme song from WCW.
Okay, very good. So we got an asteroid passing very close to the Earth this Sunday. Also, Russia dispatching naval force to reopen Arctic base. Cover that. Finally, to close it up, as if it wasn't... Oh, we got a robot couch driving you to the refrigerator, Drew.
I saw that.
All right, we'll talk about those things to close it up. This has been the Weekend Sit and Spin. We got another segment left. You're listening on KineticHiFi.com. I'm Nick O'Kelly and Drew Howard. We'll be right back.
I went aloft to furl the mainsail in a blow. And when the yards broke off, they said that I got killed.
but I'm living still. I was a dam builder across the river deep and wide. We're
still the best mix of indie, alternative, and electronic music in Charleston and all over the World Wide Web. KineticHiFi.com.
It's a fact. Nearly 80% of us will have back pain at some point in our lives. And for some of us, it can be debilitating. If you live in the Charleston, South Carolina area and have any kind of back issue, Peninsula Chiropractic is your answer. Peninsula Chiropractic has a reputation built on great customer service and the results most chiropractors can't deliver. One patient and local firefighter says, "I have been a patient with Peninsula Chiropractic for nearly 10 years. Dr. Ty and Dr. Rob have treated me with the utmost skill, respect, and kindness as a person and a patient. I feel extremely confident with their skills and have recommended Peninsula Chiropractic to numerous people, not to mention the relaxed atmosphere and genuine caring staff that is Peninsula Chiropractic. Don't spend another day in pain. Call Peninsula Chiropractic today at 843-723-6475. That's 723-6475. Or visit the office, conveniently located within the Sergeant Jasper Building downtown at 310 Broad Street, number 2, Charleston, South Carolina.
Do you sometimes think life was just better when I was young? Maybe you're right. You know, there has been a marked decline in girls ages 8 to 14 that participate in Girl Scouting. And today we're looking for girls who are ready to be the leaders of tomorrow. Girls in this age group are vital to Scouting. They serve as role models for younger girls and uplift the community. And ladies, we need you to be that example too. Become a volunteer, a troop leader, or just enroll your daughter in Girl Scouts today. Call 843-552-9910 to learn more.
Yeah, that's right. It's what happens when you cross bad with good. You're listening to KineticHiFi.com. It's Bud.
Amarillo by morning, Amarillo, I'll be there.
NASA says an asteroid will pass very close to Earth on Sunday. So, be on the lookout for that. It's out of Tampa, Florida. NASA announced that a small asteroid will safely pass very close to Earth on September 7th. The asteroid, designated 2014 RC, will be roughly over New Zealand at the time of closest approach, which will be about 2:18 p.m., based on current calculations. Astronomers estimate that the asteroid is about 60 feet in size, and on the night of August 31st, the asteroid was first discovered by the Catalina Sky Survey near Tucson, the Catalina wine mixer, and was detected independently by next night by the Pan Star. So there we go. Make sure to check that out. But, like you were saying, that'll be the next thing. First we were worried about all this stuff here on the planet, and then we're going to start worrying about asteroids and aliens coming in.
Well, that's the plans. That's the New World Order's agenda. Like I said, it was Werner von Braun, announced back during the 60s with NASA that, it was communism, the Red Scare, then terrorism, then asteroids, then finally aliens.
So on that note, I've got another article out of Yahoo. Russia dispatches naval force to reopen Arctic base. Very interesting. Out of Moscow, Russia on Saturday sent 6 ships carrying personnel and equipment to a Soviet-era military base in the Arctic that is reopening to bolster its presence in the region. Russian news agencies reported this. Moscow is ramping up its military presence in the pristine but energy-rich region, as other countries such as Canada and Norway are also stacking claims to access its resources. Vladimir Putin last year ordered the military to return to a base on the far northern New Siberian Islands that was abandoned in 1993. On Saturday, a fleet of 6 ships, including 2 large landing ships, set off from the port of Severomorsk in northern Russia. A spokesman for the Western Military District, Vadim Serga, told ITAR-TASS news agencies. The ships will be accompanied by several icebreakers. Quote, the main task of the latest expedition by a number of Northern Fleet ships to the Arctic is to deliver staff, equipment, and supplies to the task force that from this year will serve on the New Siberian Islands on a permanent basis. Last year, 10 ships went there to deliver the first equipment and supplies. Unbelievable, Drew. They are bolstering the Arctic. Is this a reflection of more Cold War tensions being built up? Or is this just Russia strategically positioning themselves?
Well, there's always been a lot of energy in the Arctic regions. I mean, that's where we get a lot from the northern slope there in Alaska. There's oil reserves there. I have seen a lot of reports that claims that Russia dumps their nuclear waste in this area under the Ross Ice Shelf, so it could be dealing something with the Russian nuclear armament. I don't know. I think it's Russia just expanding because they have their nationalism going. I mean, they actually have national pride. That's one thing Putin's reinstalled in Russia. Mm-hmm. As we're losing that in America, Putin's really brought up national pride. And again, it's not that I'm deifying Putin as this great leader or anything, but he's not teaching Russian children that 2 + 2 = 5.
That's true. That's very true.
He's
or
not
putting
out there
cancer in the vaccines.
Exactly. He's not putting cancer in the vaccines. He's not aborting 52% of black pregnancies. In fact, he's paying Russians to stay home on Fridays and procreate.
That's right.
I mean, it's easy to see that the Russians have the moral high ground. They're not that great, but they've got the moral high ground over what we are doing at behest of the New World Order, at behest of the Illuminati and in their Agenda 21 takeover.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So it's just something to keep in mind here, because this is the kind of things we should be promoting here in the U.S. is liberty. We shouldn't be allowing Russia to be the champions of freedom and liberty in this world. I mean, that's the U.S.'s job. That's what we're supposed to be doing, but we've been so corrupted and so blanketed by absolute evil in this world that our country now funds terrorism. Literally. I mean, we're funding ISIS. Mm-hmm. Ladies and gentlemen, that's on record. Okay?
We created ISIS.
We created
Al-Qaeda. We created Osama bin Laden in the late 70s, early 80s to fight the communist threat there under the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. We created these people.
Go watch Iron Man 3. Right? That's the one with the...
Iron Man 3 shows...
What was his name?
The Mandarin.
The Mandarin, that's right. Yeah. Same deal. He's basically Osama bin Laden. Created by the government. And that's elementary. But for people to have a better understanding, you can watch that and get an idea of what was done in the 70s.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's the most elementary things are the ones that draw the most attention. Look at the Lego movie.
That's right.
Look at A Bug's Life. Mm-hmm. Look at these children's movies. Look at WALL-E. That they put so much truth out there in these children's movies.
Mm-hmm. Well, because the other side is trying to brainwash the kids with things like Shizao.
Exactly.
And so forth. So we have to catch them while they're young and help promote liberty. One final thing here, just to kind of tie up the show. I'm not against robotics by any means. Of course, I love technology. I think it's great to see this kind of stuff. But
have we hit a critical mass in technology? That's what I want to ask. In light of what's going on with the cloud, with all the celebrity deal, have we reached a critical mass where technology is actually harming us? Because I believe we have.
I think it's because...
I believe we have reached a place where we have become so lazy, so inept to technology here that we are devolved of our basic human functions because of that.
It's because we don't respect it, okay? People take it for granted. They assume that there will always be technology. Assume that there has always been technology. They've grown up on it. They've grown up on television, on tablets, on cell phones. I mean, Drew, there are people today that really don't remember a time when you didn't have a cell phone with you at all times. Okay, we can remember that. But these kids now, some of them have literally never not had a cell phone, which is extremely sad because that means you are always available to the rest of the world. Always. No privacy. That's what that means. And they steal all your data through it anyway. So it's an embodiment of literally the absence of privacy. Okay? So for me, I don't think that technology in itself can harm anybody. I think it's the people that take it for granted and don't respect it and don't use it as it should be used and use it to allow it to take over their lives and do everything for them. Okay, and then they lose their humanity through that process. They don't realize that being human and doing things for yourself is what's important. And having technology is just like a sideshow. It's like going to a circus. Okay, it's great to be able to, send a text message to your buddy, but that shouldn't take the place of going over to his house and hanging out with him. But the problem is, because people take it for granted, they start building it to doing things for them, like this robotic couch that can drive you to the fridge and back. So as CNET, sometimes getting up off the couch to grab a drink is far too time-consuming. What if you could drive the couch to the fridge instead? Well, here's the funny thing. That argument right there doesn't even make sense. It probably takes the same amount of time to maneuver a couch into a kitchen and grab a drink, probably more time from the refrigerator than just standing up and walking over there and grabbing it yourself. Okay, but they propagandize these articles by saying, well, it keeps you from having to waste too much time. Well, your dreams of an automated couch have come true. 9 engineering students at the University of New South Wales in Australia have designed a robotic couch that can be controlled using a USB gamepad featuring a custom-built steel chassis with Mecanum wheels instead of legs. The robotic couch can reach speeds up to 15 kilometers, 9.3 miles per hour. All up, the ensemble weighs approximately 100 kilograms, it's 220 pounds, and costs about $3,000 to put together. So, if it means that much to you to not stand up and walk over to the fridge and grab a beer, I guess you can spend $3,000 and buy a couch that drives you to the refrigerator. That's like Homer Simpson's heaven.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And, next thing they'll do is they'll put a TV on there so you can watch Where Are My Pants when you drive yourself to the refrigerator.
Yeah, that's the first thing. Anytime I design something at work, it's almost a running joke. People will say, well, where's the cup holder? But that's the mentality. That's the mentality. Where is the cup holder? All right, you've been listening to the Weekend Sit and Spin. We got to close it up here. I'm Nick O'Kelly, Drew Howard. Drew, do you have any plugs?
Yeah, I got a show September 11th out at Corey's Grilled Cheese on James Island. Really looking forward to that show. And then September 20th, you can catch Charleston Improbables at Flowertown Theater in Somerville.
Very cool.
Returning out there. So a couple weeks away. We're really looking forward to that. And, of course, every Wednesday night, you can come hang out with me for super awesome trivia at Kickin' Chicken Somerville.
Very cool.
Love doing that. It's fun time.
Make sure to do that. Also, this Friday night, September 13th, it's Casey Mulligan's Suburban Myth going to be playing out there from 10 to 1:45, I think. Good Lord.
Yeah, late night.
But we'll be out there, so come hang out, have some drinks, and hear some great music from Suburban Myth. We'll be full-on band that night. We even got a drum shield. So we're gonna have we're gonna do all of our originals and really do a rock show that night. So come out, enjoy it, and as far as that goes, join us tomorrow morning as well for the Sunday morning
That's right.
Freedom
Got a big
Spin.
show planned tomorrow. Going to talk about the fast food protest here in Charleston this week that hit and shut down the crosstown. As if there wasn't enough trouble driving through the crosstown, now we had it shut down due to protesters for $15 an hour at their McDonald's and fast food jobs.
That's right.
So I'm going to dive into that tomorrow. I got a few other things we really want to talk about.
So 9 to 11, the Drew Howard Show. 11 to 1, join me for the Sit and Spin radio show. It's all a part of the Sunday morning Freedom Spin blog here on KineticHiFi.com, 9 to 1. And that being said, why don't you have a great Saturday, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. It's the Weekend Sit and Spin.
Excellent.
This is our mantra.
And party on, dudes!
That's right, party on, Drew.
Party on, Nick.
And we'll see you next week.
We will.
The Weekend Sit and Spin.